And then, so I said, is there any reason you've just got a black suit hanging around? And he said, no, it's good on a poster. No. Oh, jeez. So what happened on that end?
Sorry, on this end, I've got... Kanisha has just entered the room to tell me, just as we started recording, and sent me a picture that one of our cats has took a ginormous shit on the upstairs rug.
Oh, my God.
And not the one that's feeling poorly.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, look at that.
Why did you show me that? Oh, no.
Congratulations. You're on the podcast telling everyone about how our cat likes to shit everywhere.
That looks like...
Oh, well.
That looks like a can of minestrone that has just gone past the date of its, like, safe usage, has just sort of slopped out into multiple folds.
I'm trying to record here. For God's sake.
Let's hope this isn't an omen for the podcast in store.
Oh, God.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Big Dumb Cast, nerdy news, geeky gossip, stuff that's fit to fill your time until eventually we get told about another lockdown putback, because let's face it won't be 12th of April. My name is Chris. I am in 4-3 to preserve the director's unique vision, Johnson.
And I am just beleaguered on all sides by shitting cats right now.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm finding it very hard to concentrate on the job
as long as this podcast isn't scratch and sniff.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It won't affect anyone else. Bloody hell. Is that Pepper who's left that parcel?
Yes.
Wow.
Sometimes she just decides that she's not going to use the litter tray. Not a lot, not often, but
dear listeners, Pepper is a small cat the size of, like, a can of soup.
Yeah, she's not very big.
She's just left the contents of one on the landing, and it's sort of, like, surprising, really.
I don't know. I don't know why she's done that, but hey,
maybe it's because you subjected her in her own home to a 4-hour movie on Saturday night this week, and she's rebelling. Or maybe it's completely unrelated, and you're about to tell me that she enjoyed it and ate all of her popcorn.
It's definitely completely unrelated.
Folks, this week we are recording way in advance, so if you sent emails in, next week, bye.
Yeah.
But this week we are giving everyone who wants to see it enough of a window to imbibe it in their eyeballs.
Yes.
And I've not had the time, which is perfect, really, because it means I get to be inquisitive and ask silly little questions to Mr. Mayhew Wayhew, who is on the other end of the Skype call, who is going to be giving his spoiler-filled thoughts and just sort of nitpicks and pleasant surprises and discussions about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yes, that one.
The HBO Max / Now TV Movie Pass of the UK movie. And re-release of 2017's Justice League from Warner Brothers, except not.
Yeah, it's not a re-release.
Yeah, it's like a fork in the road. There was one film, and then it split, and we saw the right fork, and now we're seeing as close to the left fork as can be put together.
Yeah, Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is a 4-hour film. It is basically the rough cut of Justice League that Snyder had before he left the project, but finished.
Yeah, because that was the potted history of the Snyder Cut is essentially he left the project due to a personal tragedy, and Warner Brothers had a deadline, so they delayed the reshoots as long as they could, but then they couldn't anymore, so they brought in Joss Whedon, who had previously directed the Avengers, so it seemed like a no-brainer choice. Like, this is the guy who brought the superhero team, the first ever superhero team, I'm just going to forget the X-Men, the first ever superhero team to the cinema.
He's the comic book movie guy.
Yeah, like, he knows what he's doing, and he had a bit of a fallout with Marvel during Age of Ultron. He says that they were encroaching on his creative decisions, and now I'm like, I wonder if we'll get more stories about what was going on.
Yeah.
And Warners were like, hey, we've been stringing you along in a Batgirl movie for years. Why don't you direct this, and then maybe we'll talk about the Batgirl movie again. And Joss Whedon was like, sure. But I need to reshoot lots of stuff. Reshoots are normal. For those who are a bit confused, like, oh, they're going into reshoots, it must be in trouble. Reshoots are normal.
I imagine
it's a pickup process.
I imagine there were reshoots scheduled for this anyway.
Yeah.
To finish off what would have been the rough cut of Snyder,
they would have just added whatever was still left in the schedule.
Yeah,
when he had to leave, when he and Deborah had to leave to the reshoot period, but they just couldn't. They couldn't wait for him, and you shouldn't, because the tragedy in question was that their daughter took her own life.
Yeah,
and like some parents maybe would have coped by going, nope, we're gonna nose to the grindstone, we're gonna keep working. This is our focus. We're gonna get through. After a respectful period of bereavement and getting used to things. But obviously they needed more time. So it would have been completely unfair to bring them in, force them to finish the film. But it also would have been unfair on Zach and Deborah in terms of the business arrangement. And again, it's not like they were trying to screw Warner Brothers over or anything. They needed time to grieve. But it would have been unfair on their behalf if they went, no, you have to hold this off. Because they're not just answering to Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers are answering to shareholders, sponsors, production companies that are funding the film, like cinema release date. So essentially, Warner's under massive pressure to get the movie out. Hence, hiring a different director. Hence, going, while we've got you, we had a lot of tonal issues when it came to the reception to the previous movie in this series by Zack, and in turn, Suicide Squad.
Well, let me tell you, before you go on that, a lot of those tonal issues were already solved in what Zack Snyder had done.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm just talking about the pre-screening. Like this is the perception that we were all told.
Yeah, okay.
So because Joss Whedon mentioned at the time during press for it that they asked me to change certain aspects, and we had a lot of the cast in junkets and Comic Cons saying things like, yeah, no, Joss is a great guy, and we've found he very much is part of that family, and we found a way to tell the story, and things have changed a little, and that's okay because it all feels very organic. And since all those actors have either stayed completely stum on that, or have, in the case of Ray Fisher, Jason Momoa, gone, yeah, no, that we were being given lines to say and say to you all to promote the movie, but in all honesty, we didn't agree with a lot of what happened, and also we have more to say, and suffice to say, we stand with Ray Fisher. But so that was where we stood. Zack Snyder had an edit, because he's a filmmaker who he works with his editors, which is, as far as bringing someone's specific vision to life, is a positive decision, because it's he gets to oversee the full creation of his project, but it's also comes with all the weaknesses of the filmmaker's individual eye, because sometimes 2016's Ghostbusters, for example, that film goes on way longer than it should because they were having so much fun improvising on set that Paul Feig wanted to keep all of it in. Let's keep all of it in. It's so much fun. It's it might remind you of the good times you had making it, Paul, but it makes this film drag. Even though it's an hour and 40, it feels so much longer. And there was definitely some of that in Batman v Superman and the definitive cut or the extended cut, whatever it's called.
Ultimate Edition, they called it.
Ultimate Edition, side plots that just didn't really add anything to it, but they shot it, and Zack was like, well, I want people to see them. And it doesn't improve the movie, it just makes the movie longer. So the Snyder Cut mythos began around the fact Zack said, there's a cut of this movie that I put together as we were working on it to show to shareholders and the execs. So it's without effects, without visual effects, except practical ones, and recoloring and everything hasn't been done in certain scenes yet and whatnot, and there's stuff we haven't shot, but a cut exists that is closer to what I was planning to do. And the internet, who hated Justice League, because it's fine, but it's not. It's not bad. Good fine. It's not good fine. It's stuck on an airplane. I guess I'm watching this fine. It's
not even that,
Sunday afternoon in the background fine. It's nonsensical. It's bullshit. But I can see why people do enjoy it. Do you know what I mean?
Who enjoys it?
There are people out there. There are people, and if we don't acknowledge them, we'll get a bunch of
Justice League.
If we don't acknowledge them, we'll get a bunch of shitty emails.
No, please do email
in
if you enjoy the 2017 Justice League, because I want to hear what you like about it.
I've seen it twice, and the only time I enjoyed it was the second, because I was showing it to my wife and watching her disbelief throughout the whole film that this existed. It was wonderful. She still tells me off for it. But yeah, so like it's a competently structured film that is kind of miraculous that it works in any way based on how much we know from then, and especially know now, was sliced out of it like a butcher's desk. Like it was like do you know what I mean? They truncated it into less than 2 hours. It's an hour 40 something total runtime without credits.
Yeah.
Like it's short compared to what cut was existing behind the scenes. But these fans got really angry about it and then found out about this cut and decided that they wanted that cut out. Now, we've talked about this at length. The film they were asking for has never existed because the mythology was built around, it exists. Warner Brothers just aren't letting him release it. That was what the push was for ages. Yeah. Like, it's his vision and we want to see it, and they're not letting him release it. And it's like, we've said before, that's not how movies work. It's not like he has a movie on a hard drive at Warner's that they're saying, no, Zach, no. And like putting it on a taller shelf in their office. Like it was never a thing. What we've got is that passion, that drive of the fan base that really, really wanted to see an alternate version of this film.
Yeah.
Mixed with Warner Brothers' desire for money.
Well, not Warner Brothers. The AT&T.
Oh, there you go. Well,
yeah. Because Warner Brothers have a vested interest in this not being released.
Oh, of course they do. Because A, the abuse story's coming out from on set for the first time, and B, it's almost an admittance of cocking up as well.
It undermines one of their big tentpole releases from a couple of years back.
Yeah.
So it's the parent company that launching HBO Max that wanted to get this out there as a big sort of tentpole release for HBO Max.
Yeah, they're like, well, we want people to sign on to our thing. Oh, hell. If we tell them we're doing this nearly a year before it comes out, people will pre-order the service. Yeah. They will preemptively subscribe. We will make like hundreds of thousands of dollars going into millions even before it's out. So let's do it. And they turned to Zack Snyder and went, hey, Zack, notice that you and your co-stars are sort of poking the bear that is this hashtag movement quite a lot. If we gave you, say, 25 mil, 30 mil, do you think you could finish the visual effect? And we put it out, and we'll call it, I think it was called Justice League The SNYDER Cut originally, wasn't it, when they first announced it?
Yeah.
Like leaning into the hashtag. So I can imagine from what you just told me that Warner's probably went, call it something else, please. Call it something else. Because it's just more of a twisting of the knife that we fucked up if you call it the thing everyone was asking for.
A contractual thing of trying to work out what they should call it in terms of like trademarks and copyrights. And...
I mean, I know they use the Snyder Cut in the marketing. Like many of the hashtags on social media that comes with like the graphics and everything. One of them is the Snyder Cut. So they've obviously gone, we'll throw it in there. Go on, everyone. Oh, this is a celebration of the movement. Nah. I've had a visceral reaction to the movement as a whole, not because I'm like, I don't want the film, and not because I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder as a filmmaker. I think he's a wonderful visual filmmaker. I just wish other people would write the stories and someone else would edit them.
He's got a hell of an eye, but he's not very smart, bless him.
When he adapts stuff, which is most of his films, he seems to forget or ignore the core spirit or concept of the thing he's adapting and replaces it with, but it looks cool though. And that's kind of it. And it's like, Watchmen's a fantastic example. If you watch Watchmen with the sound off, it's a stunning visual recreation of the book that you've read with a few differences. But it's mostly panel for panel. Oh my God, here's this comic in motion. You watch it with the sound on and you're like, pretty sure this is a sexual assault scene. Why is this being played as the sexiest thing in the film?
Yeah.
This is strange. Pretty sure Rorschach's meant to be the worst person ever. This is kind of building him up to sound like a badass. What's going on? It's weird. It's really weird. And film essayists have done a 10 times better job than I will ever do online discussing like his obsession with the works of Ayn Rand and his drive to get the Fountainhead made. A lot of his politics is in his films, which is not a bad thing. Like, there should be different voices out there in the world.
All art is inherently political, for better or worse.
All art is inherently political. But sometimes the politics being forced onto certain characters or stories doesn't gel. And there was a lot of that. There was a taste of it in Man of Steel. There was a lot of it in Batman v Superman. And the thing is, the DCEU the foundation that he laid has been. It has now obviously span out into other filmmakers, like working on characters and settings within that world, who I think have done brilliant jobs with the foundation. Oh God, Ayn Rand. With the foundation, that's the Fountainhead, but still with the foundation that he provided. So Suicide Squad, David Ayer, I don't think is a good film at all.
No, it's a terrible film.
But that's a David Ayer film produced by Zack and Deborah Snyder, and very much within the wheelhouse of the two movies that preceded it at that point. Birds of Prey, like the continuation of that, brilliant.
Yeah,
far better.
Yeah.
So much fun. Still works in that world. Shazam, the childlike POV of that world, that somehow makes you believe that version of the DC universe is actually somewhere where children would like look up to the sky in awe and wonder and be inspired, which the previous films don't manage to achieve. Love Shazam. Wonder Woman. Love Wonder Woman. Absolutely adore it. It's the closest we're gonna get to like a Chris Reeves Superman movie in the modern era. Yeah. In terms of like the wide-eyed innocence and the positive tone. So yeah, that's what I'm basically saying is I was kind of off put completely by the fan base around this being loudly, not all of them obviously, but loudly nasty about the process. Every film after Justice League, bar maybe Aquaman, but not all of them, they vocally despised because it wasn't Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League. Like Shazam, the big hardcore fans of Snyder's thing, for the most part, again, not everyone, seem to hate Shazam. They hate Wonder Woman 1984. They hate Birds of Prey. And there's other issues, of course, about that, where you can identify certain groups and their talking points and the beliefs they project onto these films.
Yeah.
But it seems to be that they hate some hate Aquaman, not all. But it seems to be that they hate them in service of bigging up the myth, the legend of the fabled Snyder Cut. Like, that's more important. This is all shit. Why are we doing this? That's what we want. We want this. And add to that the hatred that then flows over to other fan bases and the weird nasty attitudes that like they've been projecting to like fans of things like the Marvel films, the Fantastic Beasts series, like other franchises where it's like this is family entertainment, have been just attacked. Then the revelations of Joss Whedon being an utter scumbag, especially to the cast most recently of Justice League during the reshoot period. There is an enemy there. That enemy is Joss, and the solution is you don't let him be in a position of show-running power ever again. That's the solution, and possibly have him punished for the stuff that's gone on based on the evidence and things that obviously we don't know fully about, but we'll likely learn one day. That's the baddie, and that's the fight that needs to happen. Not Joss is a scumbag, so Zack should get to have his version of the movie released. That was a weird attitude that began to then build up, turning the Joss thing into more of an excuse to make the Snyder Cut do better or, at the time, come into existence.
Well, no, because all the Joss stuff came out before the Snyder Cut was after the Snyder Cut was confirmed.
It was, but there was still that weird like rallying mentality around it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying
people were turning it into, we're getting the Snyder Cut, Joss is a scumbag, the world is great, and it's like there are women and men who have been abused mentally by that man. This is not that fight. Don't bring that, like, do you know what I mean? Like, don't make the Snyder Cut the victory lap to celebrate Joss turning out to be a scumbag. That's not, no, that they're two separate things. Hate his version of the movie. but like don't. Do you know what I mean? It was like they were going, well, we're getting the Snyder Cut, so we won, and it's like no one wins until there is justice for the people that Joss Whedon has abused. That's that fight. It's a separate fight. All in all, there's a lot of baggage around this. I am not in the mood to watch it anytime soon. So imagine my surprise when a handsome man on the other end of the Skype call with fine facial hair and Metallica sprawled on his chest, a t-shirt, not the men. But yes. Then again, I can't see below the nipple line in this shot, so who knows?
It's very roomy in here, so...
Texts me 2 nights ago to say, in the famous words of Disney theme park character Captain Michael Jackson EO, we're going in. I was like, oh God, he's doing it. He's doing it. Now, last week, you gave your spoiler-free thoughts.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put the context out there, just the potted history of everything and sort of observations, because I am happily baffled by the texts I received. I am delightfully baffled by the response that you've hinted towards me so far, and indeed your spoiler-free review that we put in last week's episode.
So am I.
Mayhew Watson, after years of rampant speculation, frustration, cyberbullying, and genuine heartwarming celebrations, after years of people wondering, the fuck happened to this film, really? Mm-hmm. Tell me, Don Miguel. Tell me of Zack Snyder's The Justice League's The Snyder Cuts' Justice is Grey HBO Max presents.
Zack Snyder's Justice League is pretty good.
There it is, folks. Thank you for tuning in.
Pretty good.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody.
It's not the perfect sort of Uber film that I think some people are expecting it to be. It's got problems, one of them being it's too fucking long.
4 plus hours, right?
It's just over 4 hours. It's like 4 hours and a minute or something like that. But for the most part, it's pretty enjoyable. Even at 4 hours, it's still well paced. And I say, as I said earlier, it is essentially a finished version of the rough cut that he had, not what would have been the final cut had he not left the project. Because you can see from this that there are things that would have been cut and that should have been cut. Like there's one scene where it's like basically a character having the same conversation that they've already had earlier, and it's like, okay, well, in the final version of this, well, one of those scenes would have been cut, or they would have been merged or whatever. But it's just so there's a little bit of structural issues like that. But for the most part, it flies by at a decent pace. There's a lot going on. There's a lot more space for character work to breathe. It is lighter and funnier than BVS was, without being sort of irritatingly like trying to be funny in the way that some of the Joss Whedon stuff was in the theatrical cut. And it's. I don't know. Should we just dive straight into spoilers and start saying what's good about stuff?
Tell me from the tippity, Don Miguel. What's our story? So the same hour 40-ish movie is still in there,
basically. Yeah. The final, the sort of structure and action of the final action set piece is quite different.
Okay.
And like but it makes a lot more sense. It's more coherent, and each of the Justice League members have sort of a more defined role in the action. Particularly the Flash. The Flash's powers are very important to a lot of the things in this.
It's almost like someone at some point during the story went, everyone should kind of have a reason for being in this team, other than Bruce wants a team together.
So we already know that the Flash's powers are important to this story because in BVS we had a time-traveling Flash teased. And that again...
Sorry, that was some gorgeous alliteration.
Because this is the same part of that storyline that was leading to that dark future we see in Batman vs Superman. And that sort of thread continues here. Because, its core, it's the same story as 2017 Justice League. But
the beats are still there.
The beats are still there, but it's expanded outwards in that So Darkseid is now a much more active part of the story. In fact, he actually appears and has dialogue and a sort of role, minor as it is, a sort of role in it.
Because that was my query last week, and you said you'd save it for spoilers, which was so
basically the way
the marketing's really leaning heavy on him. But like, is it more that last week you said it's equivalent to sort of Thanos' role in Guardians of the Galaxy? Like Ronan Steppenwolf is the antagonist,
kind of,
but there is someone they answer to who we check in with from time to time.
So Steppenwolf has still come to Earth to get the mother boxes. Like the opening shots of the movie is of course it's slow motion. It's Zack Snyder. There's too much slow motion in this thing, but what are you gonna do? Some of it works really well.
Like I said, all the benefits and all the weaknesses. Yeah.
So, oh god. So like the opening shots of the movie is like a slow motion recap of the death of Superman from the end of BVS.
Okay.
And it follows his sort of death scream as it sort of shockwaves around the world and wakes up the mother boxes.
Okay, yeah, because in the theatrical cut they make a point of like as soon as he died they activated, because it was like the mother boxes were saying, "Hey, come and get us, come collect us again." The dude who's like the only one possible capable of holding you back is gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, what were you doing in the thousands of years between you first arriving on Earth and Superman like just rocking up 5 years ago going, "Hey, I'm around"?
Well, Steppenwolf comes to claim the boxes. And as it goes on, you find out from his various conversations with the Sard.
Oh, shit!
Because you know there's lots of those scenes in the 2017 cut where he's talking to the mother boxes?
Yeah, and they're just sort of going, and he's like, "Mother, I something, you will be whole." Yeah.
When he goes to his sort of base of operations, which is like a fictionalized version, I can't remember what name they give it in this film, but it's like a fictionalized version of Pripyat, so it's like a deserted Russian town or Eastern European town where some nuclear accident happened, there's loads of irradiation, and they make a point of it being irradiated and deserted. It's like, okay, we'll build our base here, and they use the radiation to sort of create their stronghold and the structures and stuff.
Right, which is why you get all the tendrily things coming out of the ground and that, because they're harnessing the residual nuclear.
Yes.
Radioactive energy in the area. Nuclear. Sorry, it's a DC project. You have to say nuclear.
No, only you have to say
He's Nuclear Man.
Because you can't resist. You cannot resist referencing other
Is
things.
Nuclear Man in this film?
This is going to take a lot longer if you keep
4
doing this.
hours, exactly.
It's going to take a lot longer if you just don't.
Is Nuclear Man in this film?
No.
Okay, moving on.
God damn it, Christopher. So this is after he gets the first mother box from the Amazons.
Yes, so we still get that sequence.
Yeah, that's still like one of the big first action beats. Only like every action beat that's in this, that's also in the 2017 film, it's way better. And so he inserts the first mother box into this big like shard of metal, and then the metal like becomes his communication conduit to Apocalypse. And so it sort of becomes liquid and morphs into a representation of Desard.
Right. So is that similar to to how Steppenwolf appeared to Luthor?
Yeah,
in
kind of.
The Ultimate edition of Batman v Superman.
And we see a different angle of that scene in the beginning of this as well. At the same time that like Superman's dying.
Okay, it's like seed it a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
isn't that weird then that the actual trilogy here is Man of Steel, the theatrical cut, Batman v Superman, the extended home cut, and the HBO Max version of Justice League as a 4-hour event. How bizarre. Sorry, go on. I just struck me this like that's an odd release schedule, but fair enough. Like he's actually threading things and making this into part 3 of a trilogy.
It was intended as part 3 of a 5-part series.
Yes, because this would have been 2 films. Yeah. And then I assume the 5th would have been...
There would have been 3 Justice League films.
Man of Steel 2? Or...
No, there would have been 3 Justice League films. So... I'm just going to take a drink.
He's swinging from a big old glass of Granny's peach tea.
So you get the idea that... You get the revelation sort of that Steppenwolf's been disgraced and he's trying to word his way back into Darkseid's good graces. Or bad graces, because it's Darkseid, who fucking knows.
Because there's a hint in the theatrical that like he was trying to repent for something.
Yes.
Like, I will not fail you and all this.
You still don't really know what... You still don't really... It's not really made clear what it was that he did to fail Darkseid, but he's on the outs with Darkseid, and so he's been out there taking planets to sort of get back in his good graces. And he's like, you've got to take 100,000 planets to earn my good graces.
He didn't wash the pots for a week, and it just got on Darkseid's tits.
So, like in this first meeting, like Desaad won't let him talk to Darkseid. Like,
so petty.
Nah.
I love it.
They don't even mention his name, like. But you know what he was talking about. But it's
you tell him that I said.
Yeah, basically. And it's only later on, after. I can't remember exactly what it is what he does to reveal it, but it's after Steppenwolf discovers that the anti-life equation is etched into the surface of the planet. And that's what Darkseid's been looking for.
Right. It's not. I want because again, theatrical. It was they bring together the 3 mother boxes and create something called the Unity.
That's still here,
right? That's still here.
That's how they terraform planets.
Right. I was gonna say that's the plan. That terraforms. Yeah. Whereas in this case, it's that the Earth inside or in a layer or whatever contains the anti-life equation. Do they explain what the anti-life equation is in this film?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They say it's like a formula that will allow Darkseid to gain control of sentient beings and become like supreme ruler. Like it's
the God Maker as remote control.
Yes, and it's also implied that is what allows Darkseid to take control of Superman in the dark future that we've seen previously.
Yes,
and see more of in this.
As of this point in your story, all we know, that's just implied from Superman is evil and there are parademons.
Yes.
In that vision in Batman v Superman.
Yes.
And a big fucking Omega symbol in the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Darkseid does eventually get involved in that and is like, okay, Steppenwolf, you need to bring me the finish the Unity like you were going to do anyway, and then we'll come and get the anti-life equation. Because do you remember the flashback in the 2017 version of the ancient battle where they kicked Steppenwolf and Darkseid off the planet?
Yeah, you see Man, you see the Greek gods,
army of men, the army of Atlantis, the army
couple of Green Lanterns flying
Amazons,
around.
Yeah, there's Green Lantern, all that kind of stuff. That's in here and longer and like everything else, better and has better narration by Diana. So because the way it comes into the story here is that after the Amazons are attacked by Steppenwolf, they fire this magical arrow into the shrine in Greece, and then Diana goes there and she finds like a hidden shrine inside it, which has the sort of wall murals that tell the story of the Alliance.
So she's not just explaining it in the hangar of the Batcave.
Well, she does that to Bruce, and that's how we see it. But we also see her discover it.
Okay, that makes more sense because if Diana knew about all this shit all along, she'd just be like, right, so this sounds like what my people had to deal with. Where here she's like, yeah, so I just found out that.
And it's like the wall mural of Darkseid.
Yeah, because so is he in the battle?
Yes, Darkseid is the one who led the invasion, only then he was presumably Uxus. And Steppenwolf, you don't see in the battle sequence.
Interesting, because you do see him in the OG. In the OG one,
in the theatrical cut, all the shots that are Uxus / Darkseid in this were replaced with Steppenwolf.
Weird.
So they pulled a Control F replace with Steppenwolf over Darkseid, basically.
Yeah, because they don't in the theatrical one. They don't really tease a sequel at the end. They don't tease that.
No, because all that stuff was cut.
No, but even just at the end, it's just more threats could be coming. It's not. There's more to this specifically, which means that BVS is like the bell has been rung, ding 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 ding, and all that shit is about Steppenwolf. So that's weird, actually, to think about it. That's weird.
It still is Steppenwolf in this, but Steppenwolf discovers the anti-life equation, which is what gets Darkseid's attention.
Right, so Steppenwolf's just doing his usual job, which is we've got boxes that we've put on all these planets, and I'm just popping back to them and fucking them up and terraforming them into apocalypse,
basically.
And by the way, I think I found your Godmaker serum, and Darkseid's like, bitch, I am listening
because also
I'm not talking to you. You found what?
the way that the sort of ancient alliance wins the battle is that Ares fucks up Darkseid.
So we see because Ares is in that fight in the theatrical cut, but you don't really see him.
You're doing this.
See him?
Yeah. He doesn't have any dialogue.
I'm assuming he's CGI creation, and that a lot of this is where that 70 million budget ended up going to scenes like this.
It's a CGI creation with David Thewlis's face poorly mapped onto it. Like,
I was going to say,
there's a couple of dodgy face like mapping moments in this, and one of them is the Ares stuff in the flashback, and there's some dodgy cyborg bits here and there as well. But
is he voiced?
No, he doesn't have any lines, I don't think.
Okay, because I was wondering if there's like, hey, David.
But yeah,
he just throws a few into a microphone and we'll use it.
Him and Zeus and whoever else end up forcing Uxus to retreat because basically Ares gets into him with his axe and nearly cleaves him in two from the shoulder down.
Jesus Christ!
This is quite violent. Like this is quite,
it's a Zack Snyder movie.
This is bloody.
He's never going to make a film with Superman in it that doesn't involve evisceration.
Yeah, so he just
the man has an odd understanding of the world of Superman.
And so Darkseid's been sort of off doing his other thing and licking his wounds and taking more planets through the multiverse, and he's sort of been wanting to get revenge on that planet for however many thousand years.
And then finding out the equations on the surface is like, there's the excuse. There's the excuse.
Well, no, he doesn't realise that Earth is that planet.
Ah.
Because he's been away doing his own thing for so long, he's kind of forgotten. Yeah. And then Steppenwolf's like, oh yeah, this is the place where you were defeated. And he's like, oh, all right, okay.
Yeah.
And you get to see that. So yeah, it's just extended stuff. What is better? Like the opening...
That should be the tagline. Yeah. The pull quote. Extended stuff. What is better?
So you get the Steppenwolf stuff. Steppenwolf just has more like agency and motivation as a character because he's trying to get back into the good graces of Darkseid. He does keep saying like, parademons can smell people who've been near the box, so we've got them out looking for the other boxes, and we've got prisoners we're going to interrogate. And he does have that conversation twice, which is what I was saying earlier. It's like that. Yeah, one of those would have been cut, basically. But
they got both options, and then he's gone, well, I've got him. I'm just going to put him in. Yeah. It's like, Zach, check your notes from 3 or 4 years ago.
But they both would have been in the cut that he had, and that's all he done. He's done and finished it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean about this not being what would have been his final cut.
Yeah.
Like, you can see in this, like, scenes that could have been cut to make it a 3-hour film.
So like we were saying earlier, if he'd just got, like, someone else in to edit,
not even someone else in to edit, if he just had more time to work through his iteration. Because his original cut of the film, his first cut of the film was 5 hours long.
Jesus Christ.
So this is just him
and that's unfinished as well. That's with stuff still to be shot.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, this is a sort of snapshot of where he was when he left the project, really. So yeah, Darkseid is just kind of involved from the background, and then in the final action sequence, they do open a sort of portal to bring him through, but the Justice League managed to separate the boxes and defeat Steppenwolf before that happens, and in a wonderful sequence which involves him being impaled from behind by Aquaman, punched off the Aquaman's trident by Superman, and then Wonder Woman jumps up and decapitates him as he goes through the portal. So his body goes through the portal and his head lands at Darkseid's feet, which is an awesome moment. And this is after he's had the shit kicked out of him and one of his horns lasered off by Superman.
Jesus.
Because those big horns that he's got, they're not his helmet. Those are those are actual horns. Because this sort of new design that he's got, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it works very well in promotion. It's like, where it's like, it looks like he's made of 1,000 knives.
Yeah.
Like that's movable armor. And when he has dialogue scenes and stuff, it retracts. So you can see more of his face and stuff.
Right, okay.
And it's one moment in the Amazon fight where he gets peppered with arrows, and then he just shifts the plates of his armor, and they all get
snap
cut off.
Yeah.
Amazon fight is like, there's already like a bunch of Amazons just watching the mother box in the temple.
Yeah, is it because that was something that always made me feel weird in that movie. Watching Wonder Woman earlier that year and be like, oh my god, the way that they've realized Themyscira and the people of Themyscira is incredible. Yeah. And then it came to this one, and it's just, oh, they're all just like, Image Comics in the early 90s, like, cover. They're all scantily clad now, and it's just like, this is
I mean, there is still a lot of that
odd
in this, but just
no,
the way...
do you know what I mean? There was a very obvious like difference between a woman is directing this movie.
Yeah.
Zack Sucker Punch Snyder is directing this movie.
I mean, there is still...
Here are their individual designs for the Amazons of Themyscira.
Listen, if you like muscular women, you're going to love the women who smashed with the hammers, who smashed the pillars to seal the temple, because that stuff's still in. Only now they don't just seal the temple, it collapses the temple into the ocean.
Yeah, because last time it was just like sealing the door and like solidifying it. Okay.
And in this, not only do they seal the doors, but they collapse it into the entire cliffside collapses into the ocean.
In the hopes of drowning themselves and specifically Steppenwolf with them.
Yep. Doesn't
trapped
work.
in rubble under the water. Yeah.
And
Wouldn't have a movie if it worked.
And so then that sort of chase of them trying to get the mother box further away from him makes more sense, because that's not what that was never part of the plan. They're trying to keep it away from him as best they can. And a lot of that same beats, like, there's still the stuff of, like, the Amazon who snags it and then with her bow and then ties the rope to an arrow and fires it off to get it further away from her and all that stuff. That's a lot of the same basic beats of that are still in here, but they're better framed. Steppenwolf just completely trashes a bunch of Amazons.
Jeez.
Takes the box. Again, then the Amazons they set the temple on fire, and that's the sort of warning, and Diana discovers all the backstory and tells Bruce. The opening action sequence with Batman fighting a parademon on the rooftops, dumb.
Yeah, that always felt like it was a condense the setup for the plot into one scene, because in the theatrical cut, he's been monitoring parademons showing up.
Yeah.
He fights a criminal on a rooftop in Gotham. He strings him up, and while the guy's panicking, he's like, they smell fear. And then a parademon shows up. Batman fights parademon in one of the most uninspired fight scenes involving flight ever.
Yeah, in this...
Like, it's 10 years after Spider-Man 3, and the new Goblin Spider-Man fight in the alleyway shits all over the Batman parademon fight in Justice League 2017.
In this...
And then the parademon is netted to the wall, like suicide bombs itself into the wall, and its guts leave a map of 3 mother boxes etched into the wall, and that's how Batman's like, well, I guess I'm looking for the derp.
But in this, he's not aware of he doesn't encounter parademons until that first assault on Steppenwolf on Stryker's Island.
Which should spook him, because he should be like, shit, those are the things in my nightmares.
And which also comes nearly 2 hours into the movie.
Fuck!
With the exception of...
I guess there are action beats before then, aren't there, with the Themyscirans and everything?
Yeah,
okay, fair enough. I was going to say, that's a long fucking period of, I hear you talk to fish, though probably not that line. I'm guessing that's not in the film.
There. That's not in there.
It isn't. I kind of like that line, though, because he does talk to fish. You should make a little joke about it and then move on.
There is one really weird bit in that scene where, like, so that sort of conversation...
So we'll go back to the main thing. We've talked about Steppenwolf and Desard and whatnot, but yeah.
Again, after the sort of prologue recap of the death of Superman, like, you just get these gorgeous panning shots over mountains and this one guy on a horse riding over these mountains, and it's like, oh, it's Batman. He's gone to find him in this remote fishing village. But they just make the whole sort of build up to that. Again, that's a thing that should have been cut down.
It should have been like 2 shots.
Yeah. And it goes much the same in that, like, he gets the fishing village together and he's like, there's a guy who comes on the king tide, tell me who he is.
Is this the first we see of Batman in the film?
Apart from the flashback stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he had his beard.
And apart from that recap, we don't see Batman in his costume until that Stryker's Island fight.
I'm fine with that.
Like,
I think that makes sense.
2 hours into the film.
But Batman, the first time we see him in the present of the film is he has a beard and he's been traveling forever to find Arthur Curry.
Yeah.
Okay. Because in the theatrical cut, he's killing a parademon on a rooftop, and then he's going to find Arthur Curry and has a beard, and you're like, I thought there was no time to lose. How long has it fucking been since the parademon on the rooftop and you getting on a horse?
They don't get into this in the film itself, but apparently this is only supposed to be about a month after Superman died when the film starts.
So how do you know it's had a profound effect on the world yet? Or do they even do that? Do they even do the whole, like, the world's a sadder place without him?
They don't have that whole opening sequence with, like, all the...
Everybody knows. Yeah. See, that struck me as a very Snyder-esque sequence. No, that's so I'm actually surprised.
None of that footage is in there.
Shit. Because that's the thing, again, listeners, in case we haven't iterated it, anything Zack didn't shoot, he has refused to use.
The opening credits that were over that, in this, they're over the vistas of the mountains as Batman's, as you discover Batman on his way to find Arthur.
Yeah.
So none of that is in this.
Okay.
It
also makes sense that Batman wouldn't sleep on it. It'd be like,
no,
look, this guy died. I'm a big part of why that happened. I made a big fucking mistake.
Yeah,
I would like to get a lot of people together who can be almost as strong as him, so that we have someone to look after.
You feel
everyone.
more of that drive from him.
Yeah,
and from Diana as well. So there is that. There is that sort of scene in the fishing village is largely the same, except for in this version, after you still get the thing of Arthur being like,
dress like a bat.
Well, he doesn't say dress like a bat, dig it. He's like, he gets into the water as he's thrown his jumper down. He gets into the water topless because Jason Momoa. And
Jason Momoa going to Jason Momoa.
Oh my, Jason Momoa. He's and he's like, dress like a bat, you crazy Bruce Wayne, and disappears under the water. You get this weird moment where, like, the women of the village start singing, like some sort of lament style song in Finnish, Icelandic. I'm not sure where exactly it's supposed to be set.
Right.
And like one of this really like waif looking women like picks up the jumper that he threw down and sniffs it. It's really odd. Like this some sort of almost ritual worship of him in this village. That's odd.
That's okay. That's very Snyder.
That's odd.
That's a very Snyder move.
But it does set a mood. Like,
yeah, a mood of, did she just sniff a jumper that probably stinks of fish?
Yeah, apparently so.
Like but then, gin and trout. That's what this smells of. Whiskey and trout.
From Aquaman's perspective, that then leads into the first restored scene with Vulko.
Yes, so this Willem Dafoe was announced as being in 2017's Justice League, and it was the debut of his character, and then it was nowhere to be seen. I think he and a few others are listed in the like with thanks to section of the credits, because it's like, thanks for giving you time and you got paid, but you're not in the film.
Well, they have a scene underwater where Vulko's like, it's time to take your place. King Orm is readying for war with the surface. Basically setting up a lot of the stuff that's in Aquaman.
Yeah.
And he brings him the armour and his mother's trident, which has 5 points, but hey, who's counting? And he's like, you need to take up your mother's trident, you need to take back your kingdom. And he's like, yeah, whatever. But Vulko like throws the armour down at his feet and fucks off. Because they do the air bubble thing, which I thought was a Whedon addition. Because it would have been cheaper to do in reshoots than like the underwater hair floaty stuff.
Yeah,
but in this they do the air bubble thing where when the Atlanteans want to talk underwater, they create an air bubble.
Does Vulko have can he control water? Because that's the whole thing. Mira does that in the other one because like she controls water. That's the point. I guess
he can in this,
okay.
But they don't really explain it.
Even though like they have to create an air bubble to talk. Cut to Aquaman. Everyone's just fucking talking like underwater, out of water.
There's still that sort of weird bit in this. So that.
I suppose you can't throw the armor down if it's just gonna float like pathetically toward him.
So you get that Vulko scene in this, and
it's like, take it, woomph, blub 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 blub.
And that's
blub,
that's
blub,
where he gets
blub,
the
blub,
armor
blub,
from.
Blub 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 blub.
That's where he gets the armor from, and
which he just shows up with in Gotham in the theatrical cut.
And that's where he gets the trident from. And in this, he does show up to try and help Mira like defend the mother box from Steppenwolf. She puts up a really good fight before Arthur arrives. Like she's like creating voids in like draining water from areas, so he drops.
Yeah, and there's like a bit of that in the theatrical.
Yeah,
cut.
There's one moment in this where she tries to suck all the water out of Steppenwolf.
Shit. Okay, that's like some Grant Morrison writing Aquaman sort of level shit. Yeah, okay.
But Mera does speak with a weird English accent in this, like a really terrible English accent.
I'm sorry. Is this film further perpetuating the truth that Amber Heard is actually kind of shit?
She can't do an English accent to save her life.
I've never seen her in anything where I've been like, oh my god, she's amazing. I was just like, yeah, she's fine. And oh god, so in the reshoots, I'm guessing they made the decision to cut the American the British accent and go American.
Yeah, they either reshot or redubbed all her dialogue to be the same accent that she uses in.
God, so that makes even less sense because, like, in Aquaman, she's American.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. So, but you could at least sort of go, well, I guess Wanda Maximoff's accent has softened the more time she spends in the States.
It's like no.
Whereas here it's just like, Mira's British today, kind of, governor.
But again, that might have been something that they'd have fixed in dubs over time, but they've kept it here.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's weird. So, again, a lot of that stuff's still the same. It's just that action sequence is expanded. There's more fighting with Atlantean guards and Mera before Steppenwolf gets to the Atlantean sanctuary. A lot of the same stuff is there with Diana and Bruce trying to get everyone together, but there you see them like reviewing the video footage from BVS, that the little folder of trailers.
Oh god, yeah.
You see them like reviewing that stuff together to try and work out like, because they still haven't got a positive ID on Barry.
Yeah,
and that comes up.
They've got a rough idea of the area that he might be in, but yeah.
And then, in the scene where they're reviewing the footage together, they get a positive ID on him. They're like, okay, it's Barry Allen. He's in Central City. This, and this, and then you get the scene with Iris. Where
is she explicitly named as Iris?
No.
So is it all implied?
She was cast as Iris. Like it's
yeah. But I mean, like
it's in production materials, not in the film itself.
Right. Okay. Because I did wonder that because there seemed to be like a whole thing of at the time when it was cut, it was like, oh, that sucks because for those who don't know, Iris West is like sort of the primary love interest and better half of Barry Allen in the comics, and she was cast for this movie, and it was really sort of important and sweet because it was just like the CW version. They were like, yeah, we've cast a non-white actor in the role, and it's like, oh shit, oh cool, okay, so we're going to keep that going, and fantastic. And then she wasn't in the theatrical cut, and it was like, oh
yeah,
okay. Before I forget, is it Jenna Malone?
That was in BVS.
That was BVS. Okay.
Jenna Malone had a small part in it. Everyone was like, she's in the future bit as Barbara Gordon, and she was just like some random.
Well, because I was going to say because she was also cast in Justice League, and then she didn't show up in it, and that was where the speculation ran rampant. Cause it was like,
it wasn't for Justice League. It was all for BVS.
Right. Okay.
She was. Okay. Yeah, none of that stuff was in.
It just suddenly came to me. Then I was like, yeah, that was a whole thing for a while. No. Is that in this? Okay.
No, that's just BVS.
Iris in all but name is here.
Yeah. So there's this. You get this scene. This is all out of order, by the way. I'm just sort of trying to.
No, it's fine. Spitball. We've talked the main through line of the plot. That was the Steppenwolf thing. Yeah. We're doing character by character now.
So you get. So Ezra Miller, despite the.
All his rage.
Ezra Miller's a fuckwit.
Yes.
And
as is Amber Heard.
I am now convinced by this film and their performance in The Stand that they are just not very good.
Yeah.
Like even with the sort of there's less of the like sort of quote unquote Whedon-esque dialogue in this for
which
Barry.
Which was sometimes genuinely kind of fun in the theatrical one, and sometimes really irritating.
The stuff that's funnier in the theatrical one is mostly in this.
Okay.
So it's not the stuff. It's not the stuff that Joss added.
So there's no. I'm going to guess the brunch bullshit is.
Brunch is gone.
Thank Christ, because that didn't work in that film in any way.
Brunch is gone. But like that sort of version of the character where he's like super talky and sort of hyper verbal,
where he's Wally West basically.
Yeah, that's Ezra Miller. That's Ezra Miller's performance. Like, because you get this scene where he's going for a job interview at like a pet daycare or something.
All right,
and he's just rambling and rambling and rambling. But as he's on his way into the interview, he bumps into Iris as she's like leaving. I think, she's leaving that building. He bumps into Iris and they have that eye contact moment, and it's like, oh. And then she gets to car, and it becomes this whole thing of like, there's a big truck coming down the highway, and the driver gets distracted, and Iris's car is failing to start, and by, sort of poor coincidence that her car manages to start, and she goes to pull out into the main street just as this truck where the driver's distracted and can't see is coming along, and then that flips her car. And then you get the action sequence of Barry noticing, going into flash mode and turning so fast he tears out of his shoes.
Okay.
That's a neat moment where he's like, because he's turning on the spot, his shoes just like vaporize.
Okay.
And then that moment where she's got floating in the air as
bless you.
And he's going to save her and just like very gently sort of plucks her out the air and sort of holds her and puts her on the floor like super gently, and then has that moment of sort of when they see each other before he fucks back off. But there is a weird moment in that where, because so the truck hits a hot dog stand before it hits Iris's car.
Yeah.
So there's a little bunch of hot dogs and buns and stuff in the air, and as he's looking at Iris, and he's about to like help her down, like from out of midair, he just picks a hot dog out of midair and puts it in his pocket.
Oh.
Because then after he goes back into the pet store interview, he's like, because the woman that is interviewing him, clearly not impressed, she's just stood there. The front shop of a window is broken because he goes through the window to get her. Because you get that shot where he's like, he starts running, pushes the window, and you see the glass sort of like almost liquefy and start to and then it shatters as he goes through it.
Yeah. Matt is visually displaying this to me with his hand to camera, and it's doing a wonderful job of actually like mapping out these shots.
Well, after this whole thing is over, like the couple of seconds that it takes for him to save Iris, she's like, "Where the fuck did this fucking useless dude go?" And then he's in like the pen with a bunch of the dogs, and they're all over him, and he pulls the hot dog out of his pocket and starts feeding the dogs. He's like, "Oh, I always keep a little meaty treat on me just because I know dogs like that. See, so I start on Monday," and it's like, it's kind of it. Like some of what they do works with him, but a lot of it is just irritating.
Like that, that's a situation that would lead to the woman going, "No, ew, get out.
Yeah,
go leave." That's not a win ending for Barry. That's a what the fuck, Barry.
But like, as a whole,
take your half destroyed shoes and get out.
Yeah. So as a half sort of half destroyed, as a sort of example of Barry's powers and like him using them, that works really well. But it doesn't really serve any purpose plot-wise, so I think that kind of would have been excised out of any final cut anyway.
Yeah.
Right, regardless. But it is a neat sequence in terms of like the way that they show super speed. But there's so much of that in this film. That
they overdo it, essentially.
Yeah, it's not even that they overdo it, it's that you don't need it. Like, you could cut this. Like, this would be... If you were trimming this movie down for time, this scene would be kind of first on the chopping block because... Yeah, it shows off Barry's powers, but the job thing doesn't add into anything else. Iris doesn't add into anything else apart from being set up for his solo movie. Like, we still get the scene with him and his dad talking in prison.
Billy Crudup, Incarnation 1 of Daddy West, of Daddy Allen.
Billy Crudup.
Daddy Allen!
Sorry,
I just made myself smile. That was really pathetic. Sorry.
Billy Crudup in this is a bit more like motor mouthy than he is in the theatrical cut, so he sort of matches Barry's energy.
Is this the original? So was the scene in the film, do you think, the theatrical cut, one of the reshoots?
I think almost...
Was it just alternate takes?
None of the footage in the 37, as far as I can tell, none of the footage that was used in the 2017 version is used in this.
Oh no, nothing that Josh shot is.
Yeah,
but what you're saying is even stuff that Zach would have snot.
Even the stuff that is in that.
Zach would have snot. Even the stuff that Zach would have shot that Whedon used, he's tried to use an alternate take.
They use alternate takes, or... Because it seems, from watching this, you realise that so much of the stuff in that 2017 movie was just kind of reshot because...
And we picked up on some of that stuff at the time.
Yeah.
Like I'm assuming... I think we mentioned this last episode as well, like where Aquaman, just before he goes into the water in the theatrical cut, is talking to Bruce. It's like suddenly there's an obvious pickup shot.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? And you just said in this, that conversation's shorter before he dives away and a bunch of women
it's just different.
A bunch of women start singing and sniffing his clothes.
Weird.
Snyder. Whether it's an improved film or not, Snyder's good as Snyder sometimes.
Like, a lot of these takes are longer, but they're just, everything just has more room to breathe.
Okay.
So yeah, that scene's still in there, and he's like, and you get more of a sense of like his dad is trying to stop him from like focusing
waiting for him.
Yeah, because his whole thing of like he's got 4 jobs, and he's trying to fund his way through a criminal justice degree so he can get his dad out of prison. And his dad's like, no, just go and do what you actually want to do. Like, don't worry about me.
Yeah.
Like, don't come see me again. Just move on with your life because I'm stuck here and you can't. Do
they make the point of why he's in jail? Do they make the point of like blame for the death of his wife?
Barry's like, I'm not gonna be able to do anything with my life while I know my dad's in prison for murdering my mum, even though I know he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And there is that thing of his dad being like, you're the best of the best, Barry. So like, go and do whatever you want.
Go be best.
Which comes back later on.
Go find some besties.
Which comes back later on because it turns out that the Flash's powers are integral to a lot of this. So the way that Superman's revived is largely the same as it is in the theatrical.
Mother box and Kryptonian juices, and Flash has to run real fast. But his name is Barry Allen. He's the fastest Barry Allen, and he has to Barry Allen some lightning into the Mother box.
They actually explain why the Mother box revives him. Because they have a whole dialogue sequence with Cyborg. A lot of stuff comes from Cyborg. We'll get to Cyborg. But he's explaining when he has the last Mother box, because it's at Star Labs. So he's been keeping that safe. And he brings it to them and he's like, they have the whole round table discussion where they're like, these are change machines. Like, that's what they do.
They're terraformers. Like, they're made to terraform a planet.
They use the sort of... They can recombine atoms. So, and they use the sort of analogy of, if you burn down a house, the house particles are still there, but they're smoke.
Yeah.
So you can turn a house into smoke, but the Mother box can turn the smoke back into a house.
Right, okay.
So they actually explain more about what the Mother boxes can do, and the fact that because he was created by the Mother... And they do this in theatrical, but they make it clearer here. Because he was created by the Mother boxes, or the Mother box, he can interface with the Mother box and control it. So the plan is... now they sneak into Star Labs by, like, faking a evacuation.
Okay.
So it's during like it's...
You mean Batman doesn't do what he did in the last movie and just like shoot a shitload of people, ram his car through the front window, take what he needs, and piss off? No, okay.
No, they fake an evacuation. Come in there, and the whole thing is like, well, we put Superman in the Kryptonian like birthing pool, like to help him heal. We need to get a charge into the Mother box as it hits.
Yeah. This is mostly the same.
Most of the same. And the Flash is like, well, I can do that because I can, as I approach... He says, but they add a new wrinkle. They say, as I approach the speed of light, weird things start to happen with time. And I can generate a huge amount of electrical power.
So this is a Flash who's like well on the way to knowing his power set by this point. Because in the theatrical, so we first see him in BVS and he's just like long haired and scrubby and stops a shoplifting thing from happening. We then see him in Suicide Squad with his suit, so he's obviously built his suit and he stops a robbery.
You still get the scene in this
stops Captain Boomerang from robbing a bank.
Of Bruce sort of like waiting for him in his like warehouse apartment. And the suit's there, and they have that. A lot of that conversation is the same, and that's the whole thing where he throws the batarang and Barry.
Is he watching K-pop?
I think he's still watching Rick and Morty on that TV. Yeah, most of the things. And they have the same sort of thing of like, and they're walking out to the car with him eating the pizza, and he's like, oh yeah, well it's this sort of extra dimensional energy source called the Speed Force. And Bruce is like, oh, so you're fast. And Barry's like, oh, sort of an oversimplification. Like, a lot of the dialogue's the same, but it's just different takes and generally better performances. There's a very, very, very nice car that Bruce gets into that's different from the one in the theatrical cut, which is like some sort of weird concept Mercedes car.
Do they still have so what's your superpower? I'm rich line, or is that gone?
But it's a different take.
Oh, shit, okay.
It's a better take. So they still have all that sequence. So you get that wrinkle added by the dialogue that as Barry approaches the speed of light, weird things happen to time. So you get this sequence. So added into the resurrection sequence,
he's legging it around the Kryptonian ship.
Yeah. As Barry nears the speed of light, two things happen. One is that Cyborg gets a glimpse into the dark future through the mother box and the Kryptonian ship.
Okay.
And you see a dead Diana on a funeral pyre surrounded by Amazons. You see Darkseid killing Arthur underwater.
Okay.
And you see Superman cradling this charred corpse.
Yeah.
And that's the repurposed footage from the end of Man of Steel.
And we talked about that last week. Yeah.
And Darkseid approaching him and putting a hand on his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And as this is happening, Barry is running into it to charge the box. You see the box hit the water and start to go into it, and then come back out of the water and go back up. So Barry's running so fast that weird things happen with time. He starts to reverse time.
Yeah.
Which is setting up something later on.
Superman the movie.
Yes, basically. So what happens with the climax of this film is when they're doing the whole fight to separate the three mother boxes. Mm-hmm. Again, you get the same thing of Cyborg going, I can separate the mother boxes, but I'm going to need that energy to do it. So the plan is at the end to get Cyborg to the mother boxes. Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Batman hold off the Parademons and Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
Well, Batman holds off the Parademons, Aquaman and Wonder Woman hold off Steppenwolf because they're really the only people who can go toe-to-toe with him. And you do actually see some apprehension from Steppenwolf when he goes up against Wonder Woman. Because they're the only... as far as he's aware, Superman's dead. Mm-hmm. But Superman's obviously alive by the climax, but he doesn't know that, and he's also not joined the team yet. So Wonder Woman.
He knows Superman would be a formidable threat to him, but he's like, he's gone, we're fine. That's like, oh shit, it's an Amazon outside of Themyscira, who I know is a deadly motherfucker.
And when he first fights her on Stryker's Island in that first confrontation, he's like, oh, you're not quite Amazon, you're something a bit different. Got a bit of God's blood in you. He sort of taunts her like that. So she's like the only person who can really go toe to toe with him, and even then, like, it's a struggle. But the plan is get Cyborg in to the mother boxes to separate the Unity. Mm-hmm. The other three hold off Steppenwolf and the Parademons, and Barry is just running in circles round the exterior to build up enough power to deliver to Cyborg to pull apart the things. Only, and then they get there, and all these near misses. They start. Cyborg gets there, but then Steppenwolf pulls him off. So Barry's like, oh God, I can't. And he's like, I can't hold it for much longer. You need to get him back there so I can, because I can't keep this up.
Oh, shit's going to go wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
And then Cyborg gets back to the unit and starts to separate it. And just as Steppenwolf's about to like axe him, Superman turns up and just steps in front of Cyborg and just stops Steppenwolf's axe with his shoulder.
Yeah, okay.
And he's in his black suit. We'll go back to that. That it looks good. Like it does look good. It's not blue and red, but it does look good. In the future flash forward stuff, he is in his red and blue. So the assumption is that at some point after this, he will get his red and blue back.
Okay.
But for now, he's gone with the black and silver because it was
reference to 90s comics.
Basically, yeah.
Reference to one of the 3 graphic novels Zack Snyder read in preparation for these 3 movies.
Yeah, basically. However, what happens then is that one of the parademons gets a shot at Barry and wounds him and takes him out of the fight. So then he can't deliver the energy to Cyborg to separate the Unity. So the Unity starts its thing, vaporizes everyone at the epicenter. Cyborg, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Steppenwolf, and it starts to move its energy wave out. So Barry, and Barry's like trying to will his metabolism to heal him because he can heal fast. And he's like, okay, I can still save this. I've just got to go faster than I ever have before.
Yeah.
Break the speed of light. And so we get...
So everyone's dead.
Everyone's dead.
Everyone is dead, Dave.
And this sort of wave of destruction is moving outwards from the Unity.
Yeah.
Towards Barry, and Barry's like, okay, well... And as he starts running, you get this thing where he's like, I just want you to know, Dad, no matter what happens, I was one of the best of the best. Like,
okay, so he has an arc.
So he has an arc. So he echoes what his dad says earlier. And he runs so fast that he starts to reverse time. And you see, like, as he's running towards the Unity, you see, like, the ground start to reform underneath him. And as he gets closer, like, all the people that were sort of atomized in this explosion, you see them start to come back together. Like, skeleton, then muscle, then all that kind of stuff. And then he delivers the energy and Cyborg pulls apart the Unity, and that's how that sort of whole action sequence at the end just makes way more sense, and like everyone has a role in it. And like Superman turns up, and a lot of it is just like he's there just to keep Steppenwolf away from Cyborg, and it's just a great moment where after he no-sells the fucking axe, and he just like. Looks up at Steppenwolf, does a little smirk, and then just takes him to fucking town. And it's just one moment where he's knocked Steppenwolf down, and he's just like straddling him. And every time Steppenwolf tries to get up, he just punches him. It's like bang, 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 and to the point where, like, just to keep him down, he just uses his heat vision to like shear off one of Steppenwolf's horns. Like,
Jesus
like
Christ,
warning. Like, basically does everything he can to stop Steppenwolf from getting up, apart from killing him. Also, after he stops the axe, this is cool. He freezes the axe with his frost breath and shatters it.
Oh, he uses his freeze breath! Because he does in the theatrical, but it was also always like, oh, he has it in this universe, I guess? Because they'd never referenced it. But, like, here he gets a hero moment.
Yep.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
When Superman's revived, we still get the fight at the monument, but it works better in this.
Is it at night time? Like it clearly was shot to be.
No, it's still in daytime, but the grading's different. It is darker.
Right.
It's like overcast morning.
Because that was one of the weirdest parts for the theatrical, was the trailer. That is all at night.
It's overcast,
and then in the film, it's really painfully contrast daytime footage. It's like, oh,
and Batman's not there, not because he doesn't want Clark to see him, but because they've had to run straight from Star Labs. So like they do the thing.
The other 4 get there quickly because they can fly and super speed run and stuff.
They revive him. He shoots out of the top of the lab. The mother box goes flying, so they don't know where. So you don't get that thing of, oh, they just left it in the parking lot. Like, they don't know where it is.
Yeah.
But it lands in the parking lot along with all the Star Lab staff that have been evacuated and are waiting to go back in, including Silas Stone.
Right, okay.
So, but they don't know where it is. They just go after Superman. And you don't have this thing where Bruce Wayne is like, oh, I've got a secret weapon for if he comes back wrong. I'll just bring Lois.
Yeah.
Like, Lois is already...
Lois is the key to all of this!
Well, Lois is already on her way there. Because earlier,
of course she would be.
Her introduction to the film, in the film, is she's clearly been doing this for a while, is that every morning she gets a coffee for herself and for the police officer that's on duty at the monument, who is played by the guy who played Jimmy Olsen in the original Christopher Reeve Superman movies.
Oh, that's a cute nod.
Like, so she gets herself a coffee, she gets him one, and every morning she comes to the monument, and she gives the dude a coffee, and she has one herself, and she just takes a moment at the monument. And she's been doing that since he's died, basically. So she's on her way for that anyway.
Right, okay.
So that's why she's there.
So that morning, she's a couple blocks away going, it's a lot of loud bangs coming from around the corner. I hope no one's graffiti in the monument.
As she's on her way there, she sees him in the sky.
Oh, shit.
And she's like, so that's when she turns
Does
up.
Amy Adams get stuff to do in this version?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like things to emote to and react to?
Well, there's also the implication that she's pregnant.
Okay.
Because there's one scene where you see her like wake up and she gets something from a drawer next to her bed, and in the drawer is a pregnancy test.
Shit. Oh, okay. I both like and sort of to buy that.
A pregnancy test with the brand name Force Majeure.
Oh, jeez. Like, Nightmare Universe guards with Superman emblems on them. Superman cradling a charred corpse, turning evil. So Zack Snyder's read Death and Return of Superman, The Dark Knight Returns, and has played Injustice, essentially.
Oh, yeah, basically.
Okay. Okay. That annoys me for reasons outside of this project, but okay, go on.
Yeah. So the fight with Superman still happens. Batman's involvement is slightly different. Earlier on, you see Alfred testing a new type of gauntlet which absorbs energy and redirects it. And you get a bit of fun banter between Diana and Alfred, where she's like, "Oh, gauntlets that absorb and redirect energy. Maybe you should make him a lasso next."
Make him a lasso. Right, okay. Do we get the wind up exploding penguins line in this version?
No, we don't.
Do you know what? Good, because like when I heard that in the theatrical cut, I was like, this Batman's never fought a fun penguin fight ever in his fucking life. This Batman met the penguin, broke his nose, broke his kneecaps, and threw him in a fucking river.
There is still stuff between Diana and Batman, and there's a bit more stuff between Diana and Alfred, and sort of a bit more of their interactions. But, like the stuff where
was there any of that weird forced, like, she's quite nice, maybe you two shouldn't, Master Bruce. Master Bruce.
That dialogue isn't there, but there is a sort of hint, the inference that Bruce is attracted to Diana.
So that's more of a nod to, I guess, Justice League, JLA cartoons.
Yeah,
Justice League cartoon.
It's more of a implied thing. It's not like Alfred doesn't have that weird bit of dialogue.
Yeah, okay.
Although he does have there's actually quite a nice moment with Diana where like she's making tea while she's working in the Batcave along with that, and Alfred's working on something else. And she's like, "Oh, do you want some?" And he's like, "No. But make sure you do it this way." And he ends up just essentially making the tea for her, even though he doesn't want some.
So like he behaves like Alfred.
Yeah, he's nice. He's backseat tea making. It's quite a neat little character moment where it's just like
it's a very Alfred moment.
Like, put the water in first. That's enough tea. Let it don't drink it till it's had time to brew. And brings it to her on the tray, even though he doesn't want, like insists he doesn't want it. And it's just there's just lots of neat character stuff like that. So yeah, you get the foreshadowing of these energy absorbing gauntlets. So when Batman arrives at the scene and Clark sees him, Clark goes after him, and with his heat vision, like overloads one of these gauntlets, and then he's against a police car with the other gauntlet, and that's when Lois arrives and basically saves Batman. And he takes her off, and again we get the same thing where he takes her back to the old Kent farm,
She's like, I mean, I'm so glad you're back, but like, I had a coffee to give that guy.
Yeah,
and, I had like a deadline. I had stuff to give in. Yeah. Could you maybe just can we put? I'm so happy you're back. Could you just pop me back to the office so that I can send that email, and then we'll go wherever you want, sexy shirtless man. We'll go wherever you like, but like, just let me make copy.
But again, the same basic plot beats of like her and him spending a bit of time at the farm to sort of help him clear his head and remember who he is.
Yeah.
But all the dialogue's different again. And it's different takes. And
it's definitely different takes, because I'm assuming there is no mustache removal in this at all.
That's the weird thing about the reshoots that they did for the 2017 version. Like, they shot all that stuff.
Yeah,
all that stuff was already shot. Like, the only, like, big dialogue scene... There's a couple of dialogue scenes that I think that are in the 2017 version that aren't in this. Like, one of them is
the opening where he's talking to kids on a mobile, right? That's got to be also completely 2017 version.
One of the non-Superman ones is like after they've been out on a mission, and there's like Bruce is like taking his armor off, and you see he's all bruised and fucked up, and Diana's talking to him. Like, that's not in this.
Yeah,
like all the characters were a lot more confident. That moment when they're going into their first sort of fight on Stryker's Island, and the Flash is like, guys, what do we do? I don't like go into battle. I've never like done battle. I just push people and run away. That's gone.
Yeah, because I liked that as a character beat in general. I thought it was kind of... I thought the message of it was great. The whole, like, what do I do? And Batman's like, just save one. And then what? Then you'll know. Like, I always thought that was quite a nice, just a beat in a superhero film. I was like, that's kind of cool. Because, of course, he does it, and then he's like, oh, and he goes back and does it again really fucking easily, and he suddenly has that burst of confidence.
And he still
but we know that he's built a suit. Yeah. We know that he's fought Captain Boomerang at the very least, and we in this film have seen him like divert a horrible car accident. So it's like he has confidence. Like, maybe you could do a thing about him like being scared of bugs still or whatever, and be like, oh, those guys freak me out. Sorry, I've never like, things that I normally punch are people in suits. Like, you could do that, but it always was like, that's a cool idea, even though we know he's totally done this shit before.
Yeah,
it didn't suit there. It only worked if you had only ever seen that film in the DCEU.
I mean, in this version, he is anxious, but he's the person who's always like, okay, so what's the plan? What are we doing?
Yeah.
What's going on?
He's anxious, and he directs that energy into, tell me what I need to do. Just tell me where I need to be, and I'll do it.
And in this, like, you get the people out and make them safe, and that's what he does. And you see that is sort of his role in that first fight. He's getting all the Star Labs people out.
Yeah.
Safely. And there's
so hang on. So that's the same Star Labs people end up near the mother box at the resurrection of Superman. Then.
Yes.
So does that... Because I'm assuming then that Steppenwolf still grabs the mother box at that point.
Yeah, so what happens is Silas Stone takes the mother box after it gets jettisoned from the labs and lands in the parking lot. He takes it. Steppenwolf starts coming for it, like boom tubes in and starts coming for it. Yeah. And then...
Oh, so we see it. We actually see it instead of just, look over there, over the car park. Boom! Shit!
Yeah. Yeah. And then, because in that moment, the Justice League's first priority is Superman.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So once he's gone off with Lois, they're like, okay, we need to go get the mother box. And then they go back for it. So you get earlier on in some of the Star Lab stuff, because Ryan Choi's in this, like what one of the people who ends up being the Atom.
Yeah.
He's in this as Silas Stone's, like, lab assistant, or... Not lab assistant, but, like, another scientist who works with him.
Yeah.
Like, who's younger, but he's, like...
They're setting up that there are other scientist characters here that we may or may not do stuff with later on. Yeah.
And earlier on...
And if not, it's just a cute little reference. Like, oh, look, it's right.
Earlier on, you get a scene of them testing this laser, which can, like, superheat material. And they're testing it on this Kryptonian metal, and, like, it doesn't look any different from the outside, but inside it's, like, the hottest thing on Earth.
Yeah.
And what happens is you see Silas Stone take the mother box, and he uses that laser on it. Mm-hmm. And you think he's trying to destroy it, but in using that laser on it, that disintegrates him.
Shit.
Because it activates the mother box. But he traps himself in the test chamber as Steppenwolf's coming for it, uses the laser on it, and Cyborg arrives just in time to see his dad die.
Jesus Christ.
Basically.
Okay.
His dad, to see his dad die and Steppenwolf take the mother box. So for a moment you think, well, he's just sacrificed himself for nothing, and then Cyborg's like, no, this laser will superheat the box. It's one of the hottest things on Earth. We can use. That's how we find it.
Right. So that's how they triangulate where Steppenwolf's taking them to.
He didn't sacrifice himself to try and destroy the box. He sacrificed himself to mark it so we could find it.
Damn. Okay.
And that's how the mother box gets taken. It doesn't just get left in a car park and Steppenwolf comes in to pick it up.
Yeah.
And that sort of leans into Cyborg's character arc, which is all about his fractured relationship with his father, because the whole you get all the flashback stuff of him playing this football game. He's a fucking football star, but he gets in trouble with school because he hacked into the school systems to like help a girl, like to change a girl's grades who was having trouble because the school wasn't catering to her learning requirements.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So you see him like win for this Gotham University game, and his mum's there, but his dad's not. And then he's getting upset in the car on the way back from the game, being like, oh, why is dad never there? Da, 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 da. Boom, car crash.
Okay, yeah.
Silas Stone coming to the hospital being like, sorry, your wife's dead, and we're probably not going to be able to save your son. And you see that, like, this post accident Victor Stone in a hospital bed where there's basically nothing below the waist and one arm. Jesus and you get more Christ. Of that, and you get more of that scene that you see briefly in the video footage from BVS where he actually gets created. Like, you get to see the full version of that scene in this. Yeah,
footage which was rendered completely confusing in the theatrical cut of Justice League, where they say the mother box is activated the night Superman died, and then Cyborg becomes Cyborg because of the mother box. And it's like,
no.
In the last film, we saw footage of him already being sort of turned into a cyborg.
The mother boxes do
clearly from weeks before the events of the end of Batman v Superman. So that's a load of bullshit.
The mother boxes do wake up after Superman's death, but Silas in his research does find a way to
tap into it,
to wake it up long enough to reconstruct. To save Victor,
which fills that logic in of like the box can take stuff and change it back and forth, but like there's not enough of him left, so I guess it fills in the gaps
basically,
which is why he's a technology boy.
But then you also get the sort of info because you get these sequences where Victor goes into like quote unquote the internet or like data or something, and he's sort of walking through this visual representation of it as his like pre-cyborg self in his like Gotham University Letterman jacket and stuff.
Yeah.
And you get this history lesson on the mother box that he has is the mother box that the humans buried. The Nazis found it in the Second World War. It was taken by the Allies. His dad found it when he was looking for ways to save his son and sort of basically stole it.
Yeah.
And used it to save him. You get a bit of his sort of heroic thing where he's very angry and very bitter towards his dad, and his dad leaves him a tape recording because he's like, if you won't look at me, then listen to me. And he leaves him a dictaphone with like a message is recorded, and we get this whole thing of him being like, look, you are going to be able to do anything you want in this digital world where everything's run by computers. You can change everything. Like, you can destroy the economy, you can launch the entire nuclear arsenal, you can do it with a thought. So the biggest challenge you're going to have is to not do it. And then you get this sequence of him like he's...
Be the man, not the machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you get the sequence with Victor being like... He's sort of in this digital representation of like a bank with all these accounts, and it's just like all these accounts are like represented by piles of dollar bills and pet coins and stuff. And then he pulls out one of them, which is this tiny pile with some coins on it, and he looks into the person who owns the account, and you see all this footage of this woman who's like a single mum of two, and she's working as a waitress, and she's barely making it by, and then she's getting evicted and turned down for, and like she's like really struggling and stuff, and he just like moves the money that's in there aside and just makes another pile of money and puts it in the account.
Because ultimately, this shit is all fictional. Like, money is all fiction. It's invented.
So you get that sense that even though he's bitter and about what he's become, he's still got his humanity.
He's Robin Hooding.
And he does still have that moment where he meets Diana.
Mm-hmm. And tells her to piss off.
Yeah, well, in this case, he's like, fuck the world. Because there's 3 F-bombs in this.
God. Cyborg gets one, right?
Cyborg gets one.
Okay, take a shot, everybody. Take a shot. There's an F-bomb.
So you still have that sentiment, but you do also have that sense that he's struggling with what he's become, but his innate goodness and humanity has not been reduced by the fact that he's so much of him as machine, which is great because it sort of pushes against this recurring theme you get in a lot of genre fiction where people equate it happens in Star Wars. People equate like the use of prostheses and artificial limbs, etc., as dehumanization.
Yeah, and this like sort of saying that this only, it only ever results in them not being the person they were before. Yeah,
and this sort of pushes back against that in that saying like Victor is no less human and emotional and caring than he was before he was mostly prosthetic. He
has to fight himself through that perception.
Yeah.
And then once he's kind of like come to terms with it, he realizes, no, I'm still me.
Yeah.
I can just do other things now. There's some things I can't do, and there's a shitload more things I can do.
And he does find find himself sort of getting a bit robotic and monotone in some of his interactions with people. And he really does that after he sees his dad die. Like, he basically shuts down, but then through the climax of the film, he starts to open up again.
I have to ask.
Yes.
Does he booyah?
No.
I'm kind of upset about that.
Yeah, don't be. You don't need it.
Now, not necessarily him not booyahing at that moment, but like just at the football game. Do you know what I mean? Even just like a booyah or whatever. There's the thing the character famously says in other media that people
may
love.
well do, but you wouldn't know because the entire football game flashback is in slow motion. So yeah, so maybe he does say it, but you wouldn't know.
We'll save that for the 5-hour director's Snyder Cut.
Yeah. So yeah, Cyborg stuff is like, and it gives him a full character arc. It makes the character interesting. Ray Fisher gets to do loads of good stuff. Like, there's another moment of him going into the sort of digital world when he's trying to separate the mother boxes, and the mother boxes take the form of his father, his mother, and his pre-cyborg self.
Yeah,
and like you can use us to put it all back, and then you see his sort of digital avatar himself go from the pre-cyborg.
Victor
college jacket to cyborg Victor as he rejects them. Also, there's this neat thing where he's got this second set of arms that come out of his back and over his shoulders.
Okay,
that he keeps using for things. So it's like there's a bit more of a sense of utility to his body and a bit more.
Like he is adapting to do stuff.
Yeah, he can sort of reshape it in more interesting ways. Some of the face mapping is a bit dodgy.
So this will be stuff that was potentially picked up in the post-production on this version of it, where they've spent the money to finish off effects that weren't finished at the time.
Maybe, because he was on set in like a green screen suit for a lot of it, so it's that sort of painting the cyborg stuff around Ray Fisher is a bit here and there around his face. It's a little ropey, but mostly it looks pretty good.
The Cat's 2019 version of Cyborg.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it's a huge improvement, and I can definitely see why Ray Fisher is so pissed off.
Yeah,
apart from the way that he was treated on the Joss Whedon reshoots, the way that he was treated, that his character was treated by the Whedon cut of the film by just completely excising his plotline.
All this work he put in, and then none of it was used. Yeah,
it's shocking how much of Cyborg is actually central to the themes of the movie, to the plot of the movie, that's just sliced out of the theatrical cut.
Considering it's an ensemble piece that expects you to sort of know some people and tries to introduce you to others, is he our if that's for Fantasy Brothers, is he our Obi-Wan?
He's basically
the closest thing to a protagonist the film has got without being the protagonist.
it's kind of the closest thing to a lead that the film has, because it is an ensemble piece. But like you compare the amount of stuff in that Cyborg does in this to the amount of stuff that Wonder Woman does in this. Like she does much less because she's had her own movie. She's a more established character. Like you've still got that action scene at the beginning where she takes on the terrorists in London. Again, it's better. It's slightly different. It's better. There's still, I know and there's still all the stuff with her like working with Bruce to bring everyone together. But it's not as important as any of the Cyborg stuff, really. Mm-hmm. So things that are, so those are really the major additions. Oh, one of the major addition, apart from the epilogue, which we'll get to in a minute. So there's a scene in the theatrical cut of like Martha Kent and Lois Lane like talking about how much they miss Clark and moving on and all that stuff.
Yeah, which felt really out of place in that cut because it was the sort of the only scene of that kind.
Yeah, there's a
until the scene on the farm later, which the verisimilitude is just completely compromised because of floating upper lip effect, making it really weird to sort of invest in the scene without going, the fuck is happening to us?
Well, a version of that scene is still here.
Them sat in like the staff room at Daily Planet. Or
this version of it is in Lois's apartment.
Okay.
And as Martha leaves Lois's apartment, she's revealed to be the Martian Manhunter, who's been checking up on Lois and keeping an eye on Lois and making sure she's okay.
Okay, but also like I'm sure Lois and Martha talk, right?
Yeah.
Like surely at some point Lois is going to be like, "Oh, thanks for coming by today." What?
But
what are you talking about?
But what's one of John's powers?
Well, shape-shifting.
He's telepathic.
Oh, so he could just like... Oh, no, but that means he's messing with people's minds. No!
Or at least he knows how to fit himself into it because he can...
Yeah, I guess.
Again, the logic of the scene doesn't make a huge amount of sense.
Yeah,
but
it feels more like it's, we can do this. But it's like, yeah, but why? But we can't... But this is... but this ties into the fact that Martian Manhunter is played by an actor who was in Man of Steel, right?
Yes. And we see him morph back into that character after... So he morphs from Martha into Martian Manhunter into General Swanwick.
Was General Swanwick in BVS Ultimate Edition or whatever?
I don't remember.
Because he was definitely a Man of Steel, because he's like at the end. He's like one of the general dudes who's hanging around. And so either this was a long game that Snyder wanted, or this is during the development of one of these three movies. Do you know what? This would be kind of cool, and he's a great actor. So let's do it.
He wanted to use Green Lantern and do a version of Jon Stewart with him.
Right.
But the studio wouldn't let him because they had all the Green Lantern stuff in development.
Right, but like, why would Jon Stewart be checking up on? I don't know. Sure, but, whatever. No,
this scene is from the reshoots. Like the scene of Martha
this scene was added
and turning into Martian Manhunter is added in the reshoots because.
Diane Lane didn't record the scene with the mindset that I am playing Martian Manhunter. She was playing Martha Kent.
I don't believe so.
And then, okay,
because they also had an epilogue scene which was added in reshoots of Martian Manhunter visiting Bruce at his sort of lakeside place.
Yeah,
but the way they shot it was that they shot it separately, so. The Bruce segment, he was talking to someone they hadn't finalised yet, and again, they wanted it to be a Green Lantern.
Right.
But they changed it to be the Martian Manhunter, and he's basically being like, oh, your parents would be really proud of you, Bruce. I'm here to help, and I want to be part of the team that you're building. By the way, I'm the Martian Manhunter.
Does he call himself Martian Manhunter?
He says, some call me the Martian Manhunter.
I love John Johns. I love the Martian Manhunter, but his name is like, wait, fucking what?
Yeah.
And it's sort of, for him to just be like,
but because
there are some who call me Marjorie Keek.
But because
others call me Klaatu, the bringer of corn. Many call me the Dream Weaver. But I call myself...
Chris, shut up! I'm trying to speak.
Spiky green Martian boy.
Because of the way that the scene's shot... Yeah, anything else to interject?
No.
Good.
No.
Shut the fuck up. Because of the way the scene's shot, the Ben Affleck, like Bruce Wayne, just doesn't seem to be reacting in any specific terms to the person he's talking to. Like it's clear that he doesn't know them.
Yeah.
But it's like he's not like, so why? How the fuck did you know my parents? Like, what are you? He's just like, can I help you? In this really weird, vague way. So
Affleck, we don't know who it's going to be. Just make it as generic a reaction as possible.
And it's weird, but that's where the Martian Manhunter stuff comes in. So that's in here. I don't know, like
sequel baiting, rah.
The very, very final epilogue is, of course, the new nightmare sequence.
Right. So.
So before we get into the nightmare sequence,
yeah.
There is a new, well, I guess the old version of the Lex Luthor Deathstroke meeting.
Oh, so on the boat, yeah.
The original version of it, which was not teasing the Legion of Doom, it was setting up the solo Batfleck movie, because it's Lex Luthor bringing Deathstroke onto the boat to be like, yeah, I want to hire to take care of Batman, because I know you have a thing with him. This might help you. His name's Bruce Wayne.
That's cool. Like, that's legit. As far as, like, the then Ben Affleck Batman movie we were going to get with Joe Manganiello playing Deathstroke, that's a cool premise. The idea of, like, so this like incredible mercenary. He's like one of the world's fiercest hand-to-hand combatants. He's a tactical genius. When he and Batman have tussled in any media, comics, video games and stuff, it's always been interesting because it's like, it's like two people evenly matched in their tactical brilliance in a hand-to-hand fight, and this is great. So for the movie to be interesting, it's like, oh yeah, he knows who you are now.
Yeah.
That means that film would have had to have been real creative about what Deathstroke could do to get to Bruce. Because he wouldn't just walk into Wayne Manor one day, just shoot him in the head and leave. Like, he'd plan something. So that'd be...
So
that's a cool setup.
That leads into the future nightmare sequence you get. In which you see the sort of future Justice League that Batman's leading in this post-apocalyptic devastated world.
Right, so is this still Bruce having visions?
Yes, because...
Do they explain how that happens?
Oh, yes, because I'm getting that mixed up, because the end of this Nightfall sequence, he mentions that he has a dream to... Diana? Earlier on, but then he also... So when he wakes up from this Nightfall sequence, that's when Martian Manhunter's outside.
Okay.
And that's where the last scene of the film is their conversation and Martian Manhunter flying off.
But is this the first nightmare sequence in this film?
I guess if you don't count the sort of flash forward that Cyborg has as a nightmare sequence.
Okay, but that's there to reestablish the idea that
there's a dark future.
There is a version of events that you are all currently on the way to that results in this.
Yes.
But do they explain how Batman, a human being with no psychic powers, is having visions of an evil future?
No, but
okay.
The dialogue in the scene sort of implies that they keep trying to send Barry back to change things, and it keeps failing. So it might be
which explains the Lois is the key bit from Batman v Superman.
You see his sort of future Justice League in this version of the Nightfall stuff, which is him. Obviously. Yeah. Cyborg.
Yeah.
But with he's got his second set of arms holding a big fucking Gatling gun and a ton of ammo. You've got Mira.
Original American accent or weird British accent?
Weird British accent, Mira.
And this is a reshoot, right? From the last few months. This is one of the things they shot in the last few months.
It might be... Some of it is. I don't know if all of it is.
Who else is in it? Because if a certain person's in it, it's definitely from the last few months.
You get the Flash in his armour that he's in from the BVS sequence. With the sort of space folding helmet and stuff.
Stubble, strands of hair sticking out the side.
You've got Deathstroke.
Okay, so this is definitely Joe Manganiello in the reshoots.
Yeah, now with Mohawk.
Okay.
And of course you've got the Jared Leto Joker, and they have that dialogue scene.
This is reshoots then, because the Jared Leto stuff, Zack Snyder
because they weren't together.
Well, yeah, but Zack Snyder's been saying in interviews that the Joker did not exist in any form of the movie he was working on, but he always wanted to use him at some point.
Yeah. Well, you could have had this scene without
working. Yeah, but like working on this, he went.
Yeah.
It's got to be. Now's my chance because it might be the only time I get to do this, so I'm going to put the Joker in this film.
Because the flash forward
which possibly means that Mira is new footage. Amber Heard is Mira's new footage, meaning Amber Heard has actively made the choice, or been told to make the choice, to match her weird accent
rather than redub the older stuff. Yeah,
because she does match it to the other film she's in as a main character where she doesn't have a weird accent.
Like, she talks about wanting to kill Darkseid, and she's like, "I want to kill the bastard."
I know where the bastard sleeps.
Yeah, it's like she just mangles the word, and I'm just like, oh no, that's not how you say that word.
Surely that cast have worked with enough British people to hear her say that on the day and go, oh, actually, Amber, can you, for starters, can you stop creating a victim narrative that results in you butchering a case where you're both in the wrong, but is underselling victims of actual abuse? And while we're at it, can you not say bastard like that?
It's hilarious.
Can you be better at your job, please?
But you get that. The scene ends with Superman arriving and then preparing for battle.
Right.
With some like reused footage from unused footage from BVS, but not before.
So it's a Justice League of Batman in his big old coat.
Yep.
Mira instead of Aquaman, I guess.
Yeah, she's carrying his trident.
Oh shit. Okay. Deathstroke, Cyborg, Flash,
and the Flash.
So that's our future Justice League.
Yeah.
And they're talking to the Joker.
Well, the Joker, it seems like it implies dialogue that he's been with them for a bit, but then they have this conversation where Joker's like, "I'll offer you a truce," and he offers him a Joker card, and he's like, "I'll give you this card, and the truce will stand, and anytime you want, tear it in half, and we'll talk about what happens when you send a boy wonder to do a man's job."
Okay.
And then you get this whole sort of you get the final F-bomb of the movie, because Batman's like, okay, when Harley Quinn was dying in my arms, I made a promise that when I kill you, and make no mistake, I absolutely will fucking kill you, that I will make sure it's slower and more painful than what you did to her.
So, in this future, the Joker killed Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And in a horrifying way.
And she died in Batman's arms.
Was there when she died. And Batman was like, I will kill... Okay, here's a problem I have with Snyder's version of Batman.
Yeah.
If his version of Batman is willing to kill, as we've seen him do multiple times in the 2 movies he's been in, why hasn't he killed the Joker? Do you know what I mean? Like, if he's happy to mow down security guards at a LexCorp facility with a Batmobile, why has he not killed the Joker?
Well, this scene might actually work if not for a couple of things. One, Jared Leto is still insufferable as the Joker, and the dialogue doesn't help. Jesus. And 2, for some reason, Zack Snyder finds it almost impossible to focus on the Joker. Like, whenever it's like a close-up on the Joker, like the camera's moving slightly and it keeps coming in and out of focus, like you can't get a clear sort of thing on him.
Which I guess is him trying to be stylistic and be like, because the thing is, you can't pin him down. It's like, but it's just really annoying when we're trying to watch dialogue.
But yeah, we live in a society...
Why is he the Joker with them then? Did they explain it?
Not really. Like the we live in a society line isn't there. That was just done for the trailers to troll people.
Jesus Christ. I kind of admire that.
The sort of Christ imagery isn't there. Like, he's still in the long robe.
Oh shit, so that's literally just Leto in the photo shoot going,
yeah,
this will be real fucked up. While I'm here, can I send all of you a fucking dead rat in the post?
Basically, yeah.
Oh, I hate him so much. As just a human being, he's insufferable.
Yeah, but he's like in the long robe. He's got a SWAT vest and an assault rifle, and the front of the SWAT vest is adorned with all these police badges that he's presumably taken from victims.
Oh, Jesus. But Batman's going to form a truce with him.
Yeah.
Why?
But it's just... It's basically... It's just them sort of, like, taunting each other.
It's Snyder going, I'm going to put the Joker in because I want to do a Batman Joker scene before I possibly never work on one of these movies again. Like, even if it makes no sense.
It doesn't really make any sense, and Leto's not very good. But yeah,
But Matt, Twitter, the night of the release of this, was saying it's the best live-action Batman Joker scene ever.
It's really not.
Fucking hell, man. I'm happy that it made people happy. I really am. But measure your fucking reactions, please. There
is one line I can't...
For a second.
I quite liked. It's sort of in spite of it, where... Yeah. I can't remember what Batman says, but it's something like, I should have killed you years ago. And then Joker's just like, yeah, but then who'd give you a reach around?
A better writer would write a better version of that and make that not weird. Like, there is absolutely a sexual, one-sided platonic romance to this.
That kind of gave me a smirk in spite of itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a thing the Joker would say to irk him, but it's like, there's a better way to write that joke.
And also there's a better person to deliver it than Jared Leto.
Well, I mean, like I should have killed you years ago. Then who's going to be Big Spoon? Do you know what I mean? Just some kind of, oh, you little shit. Like, yeah.
But yeah, I mean...
But remember, this is the Batman who could get raped in prison, remember? So, God,
but yeah,
I'll never forget that sort of shit. It's so stupid.
That's sort of the breakdown of Zack Snyder's Justice League and why it's mostly... Like, there's a lot of action stuff that's better, but that's kind of hard to talk about on an audio medium. It's kind of something you just need to see. Like, the choreography of all the action stuff is just better. A lot of the crappy humour that was added in by Joss Whedon's gone. Like, the Flash landing on top of Wonder Woman stuff's gone.
Good. Because that was fucking weird. Anyway.
That moment is still there where he's
especially because the same joke happens in Age of Ultron, and you're just like,
exactly.
It's weird that you keep doing this, Joss.
It's like the moments there where he like pushes the sword towards her in midair, but instead of like them landing on top of it, like he just like the Flash just fucking stacks it. The Flash is constantly tripping over in this film.
Yeah,
like just constantly.
That is something that he would get better at dealing with over the years of doing it. Like if he's been doing it for like a year or two, he's still gonna fuck up like all the time. I'm sure that was the whole point of the suit that he's made. So like to withstand sort of the speed force and everything, and the G force of it all, and also like when he crashes into stuff, he won't break a bone.
Exactly. But yeah, he does. He stacks it, and then one woman just lands with the sword and goes after fucking Steppenwolf again.
Yeah.
And Aquaman still arrives when everything floods and helps him out, and Cyborg still takes control of the sort of crawler thing that they go there in and all that stuff. Like, the beats of that scene are mostly the same, it's just all the action's better and the dialogue's better.
Yeah.
I don't know, anything that's tickling your pickle about it that you want to know? That
How does it end for Aquaman? Considering that is like so canonically the next film in the release schedule, because again, around all this, Patty Jenkins, James Wan, they're just those two, I think, isn't it? It's not the Shazam fella yet, but those two have made a point of saying, oh no, the films we made, Wonder Woman in 2017 and Aquaman 2018, are using this version as canon.
Well, yeah, because there's a sort of like, where are they now wrap up scene after the sort of final action climax, and it's like
Aquaman went on to publish his memoir, Plenty of Fish on the Land.
Oh, some of that stuff's in the, like, you get the scene of
Mira went to speech therapy,
of Bruce Wayne visiting the Kent farm after like they've got it back.
Oh, does he still buy the bank?
Yeah, he still buys the bank.
Which makes no sense.
It's like, oh, I'm glad we got it back. It's like, I bought the bank. And sort of...
What's your superpower again? Convenience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of making nice with the Kents and with Clark and Martha and Lois. And sort of mending that relationship. You got Wonder Woman being Wonder Woman. You've also got a shot of, for no particular reason, a shot of a Batman standing on top of the Frank Miller tank Batmobile. Like, it's a shot of Gotham City, and it's like Gordon standing next to the bat signal, and then Batman seeing the bat signal, and he's standing on top of the Miller bat tank.
Things like this remind me why I just dislike Snyder as a filmmaker.
I mean, it's a cool image, but yeah, it's a
cool
pointless.
image, but it was a cool image on the page of that one of 3 books he's read.
Yep.
That's the only reason. It's the only reason Batman v Superman happened is because he read Dark Knight Returns and went, "That's what we want to see." It's like, Zach, it's an Elseworlds.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. I think it was Mark Bernardin or Dan Slott, who they've both seen the film and they've been talking about it on Twitter sort of quite vaguely, but they've one of them said, like, the reason why books like The Dark Knight Returns and The Killing Joke to a degree, obviously not entirely nowadays because of canon and everything, but like the reason why Watchmen and everything are so effective in terms of them doing things differently is because they are outliers, and that's what makes them effective.
Yeah.
If the outliers become the norm, then you're killing what makes the whole thing work in the first place and replacing it with fan fiction.
Yeah.
And that's been my issue with Snyder across these 3 films myself, has been he's determined to do Injustice, Gods Among Us, and this and the other.
That's not the important bit we're talking
about.
No,
I know. But like this is just I hear that and I go, oh, of course, he's fucking forced that in.
It's literally it's like a couple of seconds, so don't like. It's just like a little visual.
Does the weird fucking Crawley thing show up in this version of the film? The thing that Bruce uses to traverse through the sewer. What was it called? I think it was called the Nightcrawler.
Yeah, that's still in there, and and Cyborg.
Is it still pointless? Why is he using this? You've got a Batmobile.
It's Batman's sort of weapon because he hasn't got superpowers to go up against Steppenwolf, so it's like they don't go there in it. He calls it in from Alfred, and he's like, "I need it. Send it over."
That makes more sense. Like drop in where they need to be, and then go, "Yeah, I'm outmatched. Alfred, send in the thingamajig."
Yeah, and Alfred takes remote control of it, and then it gets fucked up, and Cyborg takes control of it, and you get that whole, "I'm in control now, Alfred," and he's like, "Oh, sorry, do I know you?" I get that whole thing still in there.
Of questions. So the original.
Let me answer the Aquaman thing first.
Yes, of course. Sorry.
So we're in this wrap up sequence. We get the Frank Miller Batmobile. We get Wonder Woman being Wonder Woman. We get the Flash with his telling his dad that he's got a job in the criminology lab, and that stuff's still in there. And then we get Aquaman with Mira and Vulko, and then being like, it's time to come and help your people out, and he's like, I've got to go see my dad first.
Right, okay.
And so that'll lead directly into.
That still makes it a bit reductive in Aquaman when he's going like, no. And she's like, you've helped your friend save the world. Now come and deal with the important shit.
He's still reluctant.
Okay,
like good. He's not like yeah. It's just like he's grumbling about it all the time.
I'm gonna go get a beer with Jango Fett. I'll see you guys later.
Exactly. So that's where Aquaman ends up at the end of the film.
Okay, that ties up nicely.
Oh, and the Superman the Flash race is gone.
Yeah, which is
it's a shame. It's a nice moment.
A shame because it's a lovely beat, but
it was clearly added for reshoots because of the.
What's Soup's doing at the end?
Being Clark Kent. How? Again, as part of that wrap up sequence, you see. After the bit on the Kent farm, you see him in Metropolis. He's walking through the street as Clark Kent, and then you see him look up, turn, go through the crowd into the alley, and pull open the shirt to reveal the black Superman costume underneath. So he's being Superman, basically, again.
But how is he being Clark Kent?
That's something
that's something the theatrical cut skipped on as well, because Clark Kent he's not
dead.
Back
for long enough. Like he comes back. The same day, like a few hours later, is the action climax, and then he gets the Kent farm back, and you got that whole wrap up sequence. But they never get into the practicalities of Clark Kent coming back because it's not important. Like
in this moment,
it's something that would have been covered in a sequel. But
I guess
it doesn't matter.
They dropped the seed in Batman v Superman. The way Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White performs some of the sequences. He kind of hints that he knows. So you could, I guess, excuse it as, well, they never said to the Daily Planet that Clark is dead. Like, he could have just gone back to Smallville.
I mean, they did bury him.
Yeah, but in Smallville with a private funeral.
True.
So, does Diane Lane then still definitely get a scene as Martha Kent? Like, at the farm
Well,
and
she
stuff?
still gets the stuff where she comes to visit him while he's still getting his head straight before he goes to join the Justice League off. And he's like, is it really you? Is it really you? And then
because that was wonderful, but mustache effects just made it really hard to enjoy.
But this is all the original version of all that stuff.
Yeah.
Again, not sure why they reshot it because it's fine here. Maybe some of the dialogue's a bit clunky, but like, again, it kind of would have been fixed in whatever reshoots Zack Snyder would have done had he stayed with the project.
Yeah.
But
the one that hit me like a freight train a minute ago that I couldn't contain like a kid at Christmas.
Tell me what that
is in the original trailer for the Justice League.
Yes.
There's a moment where Alfred, outside by presumably the Batmobile or something, stops and talks to someone and says, "Oh, good, you're here. There might still be time." And the implication in the trailer is that it's Superman, because of course in that initial trailer there's no Superman in the first trailer for this film, because the whole point is he's dead. Oh shit, what are we gonna do? We've got to make a team. And then the trailer ends with a hint that maybe Superman's in this movie, even though you all know he is, because movie media can't help but tell you who's been cast nowadays. Is that scene Superman in this version?
Yeah.
Okay, so he goes to Alfred first.
Yes, so what happens is he has the stuff on the Kent farm with Lois and his mum, where he's getting his head together, and then he goes back to the Kryptonian ship.
Yeah,
and he's walking through it, and he's sort of like, it's not clear whether the ship is replaying these memories from him, or if it's stuff that he's hearing in his head. But he's hearing both Jor-El and Jonathan Kent sort of talking about how now's his time to sort of. You get it's a reprise of the stuff you get from Jor-El of being like,
be the one they aspire to.
Yeah, be the one they will join you in the sun. You will you'll do great things. And it's some stuff from Jonathan Kent about being like, you
kill a bus full of children. Yeah. Let them drown.
No, more ultimately they've dropped that angle from Jonathan Kent. Thankfully, none of the let me die in a tornado bullshit. It's like all optimistic stuff, and they're sort of like, so he's getting a sort of mental pep talk from them. And he's walking through, and all these Kryptonian costumes revealing themselves, including his blue and red. But clearly, and eventually, you don't see him like put it on, but he eventually goes with the black costume, and you get sort of a nod back to the moment in Man of Steel where he flies for the first time, where he's like you see him, he puts his fist down on the floor, and the little rocks and pebbles and debris start to float around his hand, and then he rockets off.
Yeah,
and after that, he then goes to Alfred.
It makes sense that he'd go there first and be like, where are they?
Yeah.
Like, where do I need to be?
That's exactly what it is. And it's like, we told you to come, there's still be time. There might still be time. Yeah. And then you
have you seen any wind-up exploding penguins around?
So yeah, that's in there. It makes sense. Like, all the plot holes that were introduced by the hatchet job they did turning this into the theatrical release that we got in 2017 are kind of fixed by this. There's still a lot of trimming that could be done.
Yeah.
But and then there would have needed to be done, like to get this down to 2.5-3 hours, which I think is probably the length that it would have been. And it would have been, I think it would have been a really solid, like, enjoyable 2.5-3 hour movie.
Yeah.
Because I actually think it's a pretty good way to spend 4 hours if you've got 4 hours.
And
the way it's broken into chapters,
it
actually makes it a decent way to sort of pause, make yourself a brew.
Yeah, because it's also home media. Like it's not been made. This version has not been made for the screen.
It's perfectly suited to home media.
Do you think it was Snyder's call to make it exclusively a one piece? Because back in January, Warner's HBO Max had to walk back the whole. It will be presented in a film in because I think they said it will be presented as a 4-part miniseries.
Yeah,
and then Zack Snyder started saying, or maybe we'll make it a film. And then in January it will just be a film. And do you think that was a Snyder call of like, no?
I think
I want him to sit the fuck down and watch my whole fucking movie.
I think it was probably a bit of both. Because it seems like the reason that it wasn't a series is a contract thing. With like the way that they pay the actors.
Yeah, that's true.
So it ended up being so they ended up making it a film. But Snyder added the sort of parts and title cards for the different parts of the film. so you could watch it like a series if you wanted to.
Yeah, should you wish to sort of go, and we'll tap out here and we'll come back to it tomorrow night.
It's not paced like each part is not a self-contained narrative like it would be in a TV series, and it wouldn't have been if they'd put it
or even parts. A Tarantino where it's kind of like a bookmark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it does sort of give you a way to break the film up if you want to watch it in more than one sitting. And like we watched it in one sitting, but we did like take a break to get a brew in between segments and stuff like that. It's like, and the version that's being prepared for theatrical release, whether or not it'll get one or not, but the one they're preparing for it will have a 10-minute intermission, and the intermission will be scored with a suite by Junkie XL. So it'll have its own intermission music.
So the people who've come to see it on the big screen won't take advantage of the intermission because they'll be like, I want to hear this.
Oh. Well, the fucking soundtrack's great, man. Like, it's all Junkie XL
the soundtrack to BVS wasn't too shabby. And again, like, I wasn't a big fan of Man of Steel, but the one thing of Man of Steel that I own is the score because it's beautiful, and that's Hans Zimmer with
Junkie XL.
Yeah. So
the Man of Steel's Hans Zimmer. BVS is Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL, aka Tom Holkenberg, and this is Junkie XL, which it was going to be before Snyder left the project. Then when Snyder left, Junkie XL left, and then Danny Elfman came on to finish it, and did, again, like Joss Whedon did with the film, Danny Elfman did a hatchet job with the music.
Yeah, because he had, 4 months to score the thing and hand it over for edit.
But this is... this is a complete new score by Junkie XL, and it is... great.
Would you say this is the best of Snyder's DC trilogy?
Hands down.
Yeah. So this is better than Man of Steel. I mean, it's not hard to be better than BVS. BVS is it's a mess.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a way to make that movie.
I think it is.
Again, if you enjoy it, dear listener, good. Brilliant. You can enjoy something that is flawed in its construction. That's perfectly fine. There is no problem. No one is judging you, and you're not stupid for enjoying it.
So
you're better off for enjoying it. But
I would say
objectively, that one's a mess. Whereas this
movie's really good, and there are only really 4 problems I have with it.
Mm-hmm.
1, it's too long.
Yeah.
But that is what it is.
And do you think that's exacerbated by the fact you can identify where trimming could very easily be made?
Yes. But but again, I think this is interesting because it's not really a finished product.
Yeah.
It's sort of a snapshot of where it was when Snyder left the project.
It's one of the 8 versions of...
polished into a finished product.
It's one of the 8 versions of Blade Runner. It's
exactly.
It's an option. If you want to watch this, you can watch this version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2, there's too much fucking slow-mo, but it's a Zack Snyder film, what are you going to do?
And that kind of ties into point 1.
Yeah. You could shave about 20 minutes off the film just by speeding some of that shit up. 3, Amber Heard's accent is fucking terrible. Really shockingly bad.
Really bad.
Like, I know we mentioned Keanu Reeves in Bram Stoker's Dracula, but it's worse than that.
Say it with me, folks.
It's worse
I
than
know
that.
where the bastard sleeps.
It's worse than that, Chris.
Oh, God. A new challenger to the throne has arrived.
And lastly, which kind of surprised me, Ezra Miller.
Yeah, just take him out of the film, please.
Like, they're not terrible in this, but I'm not sure how much of it is the script and how much of it's their performance, but fuck me, Barry Allen can be annoying in this. And having seen Ezra Miller do other stuff, I think a good chunk of it lies on them as a performer.
Well, recently, you watched the Stand miniseries, and you said that it was
god awful in that.
They did not leave a good impression in that. So
and also,
I mean, what have we seen them in? What have we seen them in other than this? I mean, they don't really get to do very much in the Fantastic Beasts movies.
No,
aside from Look Miserable. Yeah, aside from Look Miserable, and they don't really do much.
I know Keeks has seen them in We Need to Talk About Kevin, which is where they came to prominence, but I've not seen that.
I actually own that and don't watch it. I picked it up, so maybe I'll give that a watch and sort of see where the spark was of this kid's got talent.
So maybe it's just my experience of having seen them in this and the other DC bits they've done and The Stand, but I just don't rate what they're doing at all, and I think it's a real. Some of it is definitely the script. Yeah. But a lot of it is also the performance. And the fact that they decided to choke a woman out in a bar because they're a prick. So yeah, that's Zack Snyder. Anything else you want to know about Zack Snyder's Justice League?
What do you rate it if you were to have an arbitrary 5-star rating as a movie viewing experience?
A solid 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, surprises do fucking happen.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm as shocked as anybody.
I'll be honest, from what you've told me, I'm in no hurry to see it, but I can see how it is a better product.
There's
from what you've told me, and also the fact that we've had very similar kind of hang-ups with all the previous stuff. So the fact that you turned around, I'm like, do you know what? I'm glad it's out there, and if it makes people happy, great. I'm in no rush, but maybe you at home have seen it. Oh fuck, he's doing a segue.
Oh,
it's happening. Have you watched the Snyder Cut? Be spoilerific as much as you like. Let us know what you thought of Zack Snyder's Justice League. BigDamnContact@gmail.com. You could, of course, tweet us at BigDamnCast. Throw us a few shekels and join the Discord with patreon.com/BigDamnCast. And you can watch Matt stream live on Friday nights on twitch.tv/BigDamnStream and ask him personally, does he bleed? To which he'll reply with, of course I do. Well, that's a stupid question. Is that exchange cut out?
Yep. Because that was added in reshoots.
Yeah, do you bleed? I don't know. Do you have a mustache under that CGI lip? Yep. Definitely bleeding.
You will be.
Do they still have the moment where Clark, in his post-resurrection funk, spots Barry?
Oh, yeah.
Good, because that is a legit brilliant beat.
That fight is mostly the same. It's just the way Batman and Lois get involved in it is different, and but them lining up and waiting for him and the dialogue of being like something's not right is slightly different. So
it always read to me as careless when he was just like, bring in the secret weapon.
Yeah,
this innocent woman who, if he genuinely isn't in there anymore, he will probably murder.
It just makes so much more sense that she's in the area and sees him and come
and then it's happenstance, because it's something that cold Bruce would not think of. He wouldn't think of that. This Bruce, anyway, he wouldn't think of that. It isn't in Hush, where Catwoman throws Lois off the building, which snaps Superman out of his poison ivy brainwashing. He's like, oh shit! And he goes and rescues her, and he's like, right, we're gonna have words about what the fuck you just did, but it worked, so I'm gonna just let's go defeat Isley, and then we will talk. Okay.
It's another example of how this sort of again what Whedon did with the theatrical cut has made plot holes that they had to do some weird contrivance to fix, but because the theatrical cut got rid of establishing the idea that Lois visits the monument every morning.
Yeah, it had to create a new contrivance. It had to create a reason
for her to be there.
Yeah,
and it just fell flat. It's just
weird, man.
But yeah, you should probably move.
Yeah. Is that
now TV and watch Zack Snyder? Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
It's because the guard that establishes a friendship with Lois is there, obviously, and he jumps out of his car, and then shit's going down, and Cyborg's like, "You should probably move," as shit's getting thrown around.
Final question.
Yes.
Do you think this will get a sequel?
No.
Because the likelihood is no.
No.
But 2 years ago, the likelihood of this happening
I think
was
it's
impossible.
because the parent company wanted this to happen to push HBO Max.
Yeah.
But Warner Brothers didn't want to seem like they had egg on their face because they fucked it up the first time round. And the fact that this is getting a way more positive reception than the theatrical cut, I think, is even more egg on their face, and they're just going to double down on not wanting to work with Zack Snyder again. And I think Zack Snyder's quite being like, yeah, I kind of don't want to work with Warner Brothers again, so...
Do you think we will get a Justice League film continuing on in general, vaguely referring to either version as its predecessor?
No, not with the same cast, certainly.
It's interesting that, because you think you think this might be the thing that makes them go, go on, we'll do one more Justice League film. Let's get him out there while we've got him. But Cavill's made a point of saying that like he's kind of done. Like he's open to talks, but he's kind of done.
Yeah, I think there's been they've been negotiations with Warner Brothers to get him to return, and I think he's always been open about being like, yeah,
because he wanted to do it. He wanted to do the Shazam cameo.
But
he said that he'd do it, but scheduling he couldn't, which kind of results in a better joke, really.
Yeah,
like it works better that it's not him, that you don't see him, that you just see his chest. You're like, oh shit.
I know he's been very open about wanting to do more Superman, but I think what's happening is that Warner Brothers keep going to him and saying, come and be Superman for us, sign this contract, and he's saying, well, what have you got written? And they've got, oh, nothing.
Yeah, because Man of Steel 2 has been touted for years now, and it's never happened
with The Flash and the struggle trying to get made, and that knowing that Justice League was a troubled production even before Snyder left because of studio pressure. I honestly don't think that they've got anything lined up for Cavill to sign on to other than saying that he will be Superman. And I think that's probably what's keeping... Again, this is just conjecture on my part. Yeah, just
speculation based on what's out there, yeah.
But it absolutely would not surprise me if the reason that Cavill has not confirmed that he's going to return as Superman is because...
They don't have a project.
They don't have actually a project at the script stage for him to sign on to. They just want to get him contracted and nailed down, but now he's got The Witcher, which is also something that he's more interested in doing. Sorry.
He also hasn't played the part in 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, he's still in shape for it.
Oh, yeah, but again, that's Witcher and Mission Impossible kept him, like, buffing.
But also just because General Henry Cavill, like, I think once you get to be that fucking built, you just stay that built or get fat, so he's decided to stay that built.
Well, I woke up this morning and I thought, what do I like, paunch or hench? I think I'm going to go with hench.
Yeah, I'll... You do you, Henry Cavill. You keep making...
I'm gonna build gaming PCs, customs for people. Do you have a weightlifting regimen anymore? No, Warner Brothers doesn't pay personal trainer, but what I do now, you see, is I tell people, send me the parts and I'll build you a computer.
What I really
They're very heavy. I just rep with motherboards all day.
What I really want to know is that after he did that first photo of him painting his 40k miniatures.
Yeah.
Did he ever finish that Adeptus Custodes army? Because we only got that one progress pic. Like, where's the finished army, Henry?
That's true. Where's it?
Where's the finished model? We only saw you painting the head. We want to see your Custodes. Well, I do anyway, but...
That's not a euphemism.
Well...
Yet.
You could just watch The Witcher. You see both of everything.
Right, on that note, we'll leave you with the Justice League's most famous catchphrase... To infinity.
Bye.